we played 100% of Astroneer. Join us in this feature-length movie spanning across 200 days of gameplay, with 7 planets to explore, 56 achievements to get, and a whole DLC to complete alongside the main game. Will we manage to have enough time to pull it all off, whilst also making a ton of mistakes along the way?
Oh my god! Kieran, run! Oh!
Let's head back to day 1, the beginning of the story. After our shuttles ejected, we landed on the planet Sylva, which will be our home for the foreseeable future. With only a small shelter and a mission platform to our name, the task was looking monumental. And remember, we have zero knowledge between the 4 of us, so this was going to be tough. So we started simple, unboxing the oxygenator and hooking it up to the base so that we could breathe. And we also placed down the small printer where we could craft basic objects from. We also found these tethers, which would allow us to extend our oxygen connection further out. We used these to explore some of the debris closer to our base, finding a research aid station.
Oh wait, the research aid is here.
We had no clue how to use it, so we left it alone. However, we did steal this wind turbine and finally learn how to plug in the printer so that it would work to end day 1. Oh, and also we got the achievements. Well, hello there, Fancy Pants, and Exodynamics Outreach Participant for equipping a suit and joining a game. Day 2 started with us learning of the mission log, where we could complete tasks to receive drops and bytes, a currency which we could exchange for researching crafting recipes. But we didn't know about that yet, so we decided to dig a tunnel to explore underground. Jacob nearly died immediately to full damage.
Hey dude. Oh my god. Okay, I just slid all the way in.
But then he actually did start to suffocate, dying just out of reach of the base.
Can you believe it's already...
No! Guys! God! No!
But he did find resin, which we'd need for crafting later on. So we went back down, grabbing an achievement for digging up a hazard, this time opting to tether down so we'd have oxygen at least. Down in the cave, we found plenty of scannable research samples, which netted us another achievement and plenty of resources to end day 2. Back on the surface, we gathered more resin, and it was today where we finally made some progress. Well, Matt was the one to do it. Learning how to craft items, creating a medium platform. I can't believe it took us 3 days to craft something, but we did get an achievement for completing the training missions. So now it was over to us. No more hand holding. So he hooked it up to the base and that opened the floodgates. We finally found the resource known as a compound today, so gathered some and used it to craft a medium printer, and then used that to craft a research chamber, dancing around it as we had finally made some real progress to end day 3. Jacob made a pivotal discovery on day 4, taking one look around the base and realizing we'd accumulated a load of shite over the past 3 days and the base was a complete mess.
Oh my god, it's so messy, bro. Look around our base.
So he moved the research table away, where he and Kieran then made a monumental fumble. They forgot to plug the research table in, and this would remain here for days, causing confusion on why nothing was actually happening. You think this would be a one-off, but then they proceeded to spend the limited time we have in a day here playing battleships with the storage modules.
Is yours bottom right?
That's a dud.
Leaving me and Matt to make actual progress. So we hooked up our Ranger platforms, reaching the debris we explored back on day 1, stealing a scrapper for ourselves and finding this gravity orb thing before we reached an impasse. So we decided that bigger means better. So we danced around the medium printer as it printed a larger printer. It was Kieran on day 5 to build on Jacob's discovery from yesterday, calling a team meeting and opening our eyes to how messy the base had really got.
Just not ruin the base.
Ruin the base? What do you mean? It's already fucking ruined.
It's not ruined. Stop chucking your shit on the floor then.
So he spent some time working on cleaning it up in different areas.
Guys, look around. How about we take the day and organise this? I want a printing area, a storage area.
Kieran then set off our one piece of dynamite.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Erasing all of his good work. I'm sure he won't need that very soon. He then crafted an exo request platform for no reason at all. He just wanted to push some buttons. And after a day of organising, the base had a better flow to it instead of a pile of shite. And we were rewarded for it, as Matt crafted a small generator and hooked it up, giving us power and batteries. 5 days of hard work got us to this point. Time to turn it up a notch. Matt found a new attachment for the gun we had been using to dig stuff up with, and with this he could actually do the opposite and build instead, which would be nice for filling in the mass amount of holes we had made around the base. Kieran then crafted a rover seat for no reason at all. He just started pushing buttons again, but at least he liked it. However, suspicion was starting to grow strong on why the research chamber wasn't doing anything, but we ignored this, opting to craft tethers instead and head off on an adventure. Tethering to a nearby cave I had found earlier, we reached the entrance trouble-free, just in time for Kieran to fly headfirst into a wall, entering a bit too fast. But after he recovered, we made it to the cave surface to end day 6.
shit. I died again.
Day 7 started with Matt accidentally planting this seed, grabbing an achievement for his curiosity, and down in this cave, I had made some huge discoveries. First finding quartz and laterite to mine and craft with later on, then finding another debris field, however, this one housed multiple big finds. First being an exo cache we needed to blow up, only if we had some dynamite, right? And the second being a furnace, which we had tried to craft, but just couldn't figure it out. So we stole them both and ran back home. Well, I walked it back, but I made it there all the same. Back home, we placed a laterite into the powered furnace, managing to produce aluminium for the first time. Kieran and Jacob then buried the exo cache for some reason, dancing on top of it like some weird tribal ritual. Even without the research chamber working, which provided bytes, which you needed to unlock crafting recipes, day 8 started in a great way. After scanning enough samples, we gathered enough bytes and brain cells to figure out how to actually unlock crafting recipes. I know it's day 8, but we got there in the end. So the group settled on a tractor.
Oh my god!
Shit!
No way!
Oh my god, wait, does that mean, wait, hold on, can I get in that? Drive us away, champ.
Which Kieran and Jacob spearheaded, making 2 of them, and finally put Kieran's rover seat to good use. Then they proceeded to shoot straight down the cave and run it out of fuel, so down to 1 tractor we was then. Matt then followed this with the biggest win yet. He plugged the research chamber in, and there it was. We had researched our first item. And for our troubles, we got given the trailer recipe. So hooked it up to our tractor, learning we could carry stuff like storage modules on the back for long journeys. What a day this one was. Keeping up with the tractor project, Kieran added a second trailer to the back, and we also added plenty of batteries to keep it charged. Also, our first research project completed today, which gave us for now a steady flow of bytes per minute as well as an achievement. So with the tractor loaded up and the base coming along nicely, we were lacking resources for the new crafting recipes we could now learn, so we took off on the first big expedition, gathering resin, compound, and whatever else we could get our hands on. This carried on into day 10 until the curiosity got the better of Kieran and he drove us straight towards the beam in the sky. Entering a new area of forest, finding new samples and items before we rounded this hill, and there it was.
Whoa, what the fuck is this?
The beam was actually something known as a gateway chamber, and we had just found our first one. After driving the tractor on board, we found panels which needed powering. So like idiots, we took the batteries off the tractor, which died immediately when plugged into the gateway. So with a dead tractor, it was looking bleak until Matt luckily had kept a power cell on hand. So with limited juice, we opted to return home and plan to come back and build a temporary base to explore this further. With the inventories full, we landed back home, and after finding a piece of dynamite on our travels, there was only one thing left to do.
Blow that shit up.
How big is it?
Oh shit!
What's here? Debris, exo chips.
With the cache now open, we found 2 rare exo chips. What did they do? Oh, we have no idea. But we stored them away as well as our tractor to end day 10. After returning to home base, we knew we need more power to power the strange gateway chamber we had found. So it was upgrade time. Jacob and myself took off to try and rescue the tractor he had lost a while back, which brought mixed success.
Oh no.
Alright, we
Uh-oh.
have 2 trailers there.
Column.
Oh, Jacob.
Column, I fell.
Yeah, I can see that.
Kieran was back at base preparing for the return of the tractor, opting to make a couple extra trailers to max out the storage capacity. After a long night of crafting, we had the setup ready for the second tractor. However, that was looking particularly bleak. So I abandoned Jacob, retrieving the rover seat Kieran made, as it might be useful later on. But Jacob vowed he wasn't leaving without the tractor, so stayed put. And Matt researched this auto arm for us to craft, but the mystery of how to acquire graphite would be a thorn in our side for the next coming days. Now, I wish I was joking, but Jacob is about to spend the whole day wrestling with tunnels, the tractor, and more tunnels trying to get this thing out. So we'll leave him to it. Back at headquarters, the return of the rover seat had lifted Kieran's spirits, and with the research issue being resolved, a new one had taken its place. Like I mentioned, graphite was a new conundrum. Matt had tried plenty of combinations, but couldn't quite get it. We got zinc though, and in the evening, after working on the base and gathering research items, Matt found the research aid thing again and plugged it in, which seemed to work, popping the top off, which gave us a cool 500 bytes, so a good find indeed. And in exchange for this, the game gave us a buggy and the means to craft more of them, which lit a rocket up Kieran, who began working on a fleet of them for the team. And after crafting more rover seats, I entered the buggy first, meow, followed by Matt and then Kieran. It's around here we learned the small generators and their ability to power a lot of stuff just off organic fuel alone. A bit late, but we got there in the end. After hooking all the vehicles up with generators, someone had just broken through the surface, and after 3 days of grueling work, Jacob had surfaced in the tractor. So so raced in to reunite with the team.
What's up, Danger?
Did he get it back?
I'll show you. Oh, let's go.
And just as the fleet was complete, I then found some graphite.
Get in the track, Matt. Get in the track. We're gonna go graphite this bitch up.
Yeah, we're going to fill up the tractors with graphite.
After returning victorious, Matt printed out the auto arm. What does it do? We had no fucking idea. And just when you thought we had too many vehicles, Kieran's curiosity got the better of him once again as he entered the gravity orb.
How the fuck did this get here?
I don't
I brought it
know.
over.
Oh, it's a hamster ball.
Oh
Yeah,
my
hold that
god,
from
that's
this-
sick.
What?
You can drive it.
That's sick. That's like G-Force.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you built up some speed, didn't you?
Adding another vehicle to the collection, Kieran then purchased oxygen tanks with our increasing amount of bytes, which would allow us to live for longer. So we smelted some quartz to craft them, and when we had acquired them, it was time to set off on the return trip to the gateway chamber. We arrived back at the gateway on the dawn of day 15. We drove every vehicle up onto the platform and began to figure out how to activate it. After the batteries weren't proving useful, we decided to try going on with the generator route and just feeding them organic matter to try and power the gateway. This was until Kieran was inside the gateway as we powered it up, so he died. In his absence, we ploughed on until I then died in a buggy, leaving Jacob and Matt to bring it home. So they gathered as much organic matter as possible and went to work. And just as day 15 drew to a close, it came to life, the first of hopefully many.
Dude, we did it.
What is that?
I don't know. Whoa!
With Kieran and myself working on getting back to the gateway as we had taken too many vehicles, it was down to Jacob and Matt to step into the gateway for the first time. Except all that appeared was a menu with one node lit up, meaning we need to find and activate more before using them. So with the future goal clear in our minds, we moved 4 of the 5 vehicles back to the base, leaving 1 tractor there and explored around the base and the chamber to end day 16. Matt had drifted into a new biome, the mountains, on the morning of day 17, finding and pushing his research item back to the base to keep gathering bytes for the team. Myself and Jacob started yet another tractor rescue.
You just almost lose. Oh my god.
Jacob had spent 6 days so far just rescuing or driving tractors, which was a worrying stat. We had gone the complete opposite way to the gateway.
Where the fuck is the thing gone?
When you drive back.
I don't think it's here.
No, it was 100%.
So headed back and set back off in the right direction, eventually finding the tractor, leaving me to escort it back. On Kieran's travels, he found another research bay for some extra bytes before also returning home, just in time for something special. Matt had found a curious item out exploring, and when he activated it, the sky suddenly sparked to life.
What the fuck? Man, what did you
Lit up
do?
the sky.
Dude!
With a crack now in the atmosphere and the other planets suddenly coming into view. We continued to mess about with the item for the rest of the day, maybe not such a good idea, but our bytes per minute did creep over 150 today, which got us an extra achievement. After spending some more time playing with it, we decided we need to activate more of the gateways for researching purposes, so opted to split into 2 different teams. I recruited Kieran, leaving Jacob and Matt as the second team, so we chose 2 opposite directions and set off. It was me and Kieran to strike first, as after some resource gathering, we spotted a deep looking cave, so we shot straight down it in our buggies.
Oh shit.
Down there, we found some research aids, plenty of resources, including new ones, and mainly, it just kept going deeper, so we in tandem kept driving further down. Back on the surface, they found out what the auto arm did
Oh my god.
What the fuck? It
Yeah,
just
this
picked
is
up a
not good.
resin and started researching it.
before taking off themselves. However, it was mainly just some light resource grabbing, a couple debris fields including the best find, a horn, and some sketchy crossings, making up the first leg of the duo's trip. Now, it was a complete 180 in fortunes on day 19. The spelunking team had run into a wall. We had reached the bottom of the cave and fully explored it yesterday, so we had to tunnel out as we had 2 buggies we needed to make sure got back. So we will leave us alone to tunnel out for now and head back to the ground team. After initially running into more debris and research samples, they then hit the jackpot, run into another gateway chamber which was huge. This time, powering it was a breeze due to the stockpile of generators and batteries, and when the menu came up again this time, an option to click was there, so Jacob headed straight in.
Ah! Matt!
Oh my god, what have you done?
What's happening to me? Oh, I teleported to the other one.
followed by Matt, and turns out these chambers are actually teleporters as they popped out the first one we activated. With this knowledge, they checked their menus and compasses before heading off in pursuit of more. After trekking through the mountains and more forests, they were rewarded once again as a light beam appeared on the horizon, so they plowed straight ahead towards it.
Oh god, this one's a bit dangerous, man.
Down in the cave, we had cracked through to a second open area, so began construction on a second tunnel,
I think I'm gonna shit myself, but I'm having a great time.
which we'd stopped to play around for a few seconds, sliding down what we'd built, coincidentally grabbing an achievement in the process. But suddenly, the monotonous brown dirt turned to the shade of green grass, and shortly after, we broke through to the surface.
Yes! I see trees!
Deciding to return home and work on some base organizing. The other duo had found their third gateway chamber, so after digging out the panels, and just as the day was beginning to draw to a close, they got the third one activated. And just before they did end, Kieran collected the quest rewards for the curious item we turned on previously, and it spat out something even stranger. We opted to leave that object alone until the other two had returned, and speaking of them, after some more traversing, they managed to find another gateway chamber, and after farming enough organic matter, they powered this one up before setting off to hunt even more. Back at base, I wasn't happy with how messy it had gotten around here once again. So while Kieran searched for missions we could complete and took the tractor out to round up research items for more bites, I rather awkwardly operated the flattening tool trying to flat the land around the base, but it wasn't working how I'd hoped, so I gave it up. Instead of that, we began actually working on the base. Kieran started on a questing spree, unlocking the drill and boost mod for the terrain tool, before accepting a few more quests we could now complete. He started off by printing a packager ticking one quest off, which gave us a free medium shredder, so he placed a small basket in and shredded it for some scrap.
There we go, Colin. Look, he's doing it. He's doing it.
Meanwhile, I spent the whole day moving all the machinery slightly away from the shelter, giving us some breathing room and some more overall order to the base. At the same time, the voyaging team found some more debris deposits, traversed some more dodgy landscapes, and at the end of the day, managed to uncover and find the second to last gateway chamber. Day 23 obviously started with them hiking their tractor up to the core and utilizing their growing power setup to power the chamber, allowing them to begin the voyage to find the final one. Speaking of back at home, Kieran crafted the boost and drill mod, completing another quest before organizing a storage pile and other various items. That quest granted us a soil centrifuge machine, so I hooked it up before spending the remainder of my day driving the vehicles to a new spot to house them and continuing to clean up around the base with Kieran for the long-awaited reunion of the whole group. In the early hours of day 24, Matt and Jacob uncovered the final gateway chamber, so it was business as usual, turning it on, completing all of the chambers on Sylva. So they celebrated by nearly destroying their tractor
This is a valid day.
Oh no, there's a fucking giant hole to my left.
and getting stuck underground
Oh, for bug class sake, you're gonna have to come in now.
for what seemed like the whole day. Kieran built some storage for housing organic matter for the generators to use, while I tried using its leveling block to no success, so I instead played around with the new soil centrifuge before heading down to farm some much needed resources. Kieran continued to smelt away, crafting what he could, realizing the chemistry lab was out of reach for now, so instead unlocked the recipes for power cells and glow sticks for a future quest to end day 24. Hitting the quarter mark of the challenge, I set the soil centrifuge off and running, which ended up producing 1 ammonium for us, so not bad if we ever needed specific resources. Kieran added some more organic storage near the generators and the base was finally looking organized. So I headed back to retrieve an exo cache I'd found earlier in the game, and just before I started to suffocate,
Oh my god, I'm gonna stop again!
the duo made their triumphant return,
This is the spot for it. I'll wheel you in.
Why is it so fucked?
hauling home trailers full of loot they had found. They immediately parked their trailer up and we headed straight over to the strange object we acquired earlier. When we activated it, an abandoned lab spawned.
Oh no, I got it. It's gonna work. Whoa! Oh shit!
At the moment, we just needed to try and power it, so we returned back to base to work on that as it seemed important. It was around this time the achievement for playing for 4 hours triggered, even though we'd playing for longer, but it's worth mentioning all the same. So today, now that we're all back, I made and placed an oxygenator into the biolab. Next was all about powering the station up, so I headed to the caves whilst the others handled that. Jacob was showing Kieran what they got from the expedition when they found a jetpack, triggering a fun series of events.
Oh fuck off! He has a jetpack.
Is that the jump?
That's the jump jet thing you
on
found.
yours, yeah.
Does anyone want to go?
Whoa! go.
before Jacob joined me down in the caves. Matt worked on finding some new research samples for the research chamber, while Kieran organised everything from the tractor into the storage pile. I proceeded to die numerous times today, suffocating mainly being the problem. Meanwhile, we used a wind turbine to provide power to the biolab, so Kieran activated the tablet, starting the questline officially. Next up was scanning these shells scattered around, so Jacob got to work, quickly finishing that. This gave us a terrarium, which we had to fill with soil, zinc, and bounce vine seeds. We also got that done quickly, which proceeded to spawn this.
Yeah, we did it.
Dude, Snail!
And after dancing around it, we managed to befriend the creature and place him inside the terrarium. And all was calm, till he somehow entered the fucking gravity orb and started joyriding it.
This is sick. The fuck is
going?
He's on a mission.
He's leading us somewhere. He's leading us
Can't catch
somewhere.
him. After catching him, we placed him into the biolab, completing the quest and earning us our first pet. Completing this quest unlocked more quests revolving around pets, but they were on other planets entirely. So, as the possibilities we could currently do on Sylva were running out, we unlocked the small shuttle recipe, and with the materials we had on hand, we printed our first one. Also printing a solid fuel thruster to power said shuttle, and just like that, we combined them together and had a route into space and other planets. Other than that today, Matt took the tractor for a spin, hunting for some more research samples, and I finally learned how to flatten the land, so I spent all day doing that. My flattening spree carried on into day 29, which allowed Jacob and Kieran to work on the rocket project in the background. They started work on a second shuttle before learning we would only need 2 shuttles, as you can place a rover seat in the shuttle, allowing 2 people per shuttle.
A lot of shuttles were said in not a lot of time.
So they stole and printed enough to fill the 2 shuttles up and replace the one they stole from the buggy earlier. Also, they added fuel to the second shuttle, making them both ready to go. Matt drove his research samples back home before he started work on expanding our research capabilities, and with my assistance, we could now research 2 items at once. Day 30, however, was a monumental day. With all avenues exhausted and the 2 shuttles constructed, we took our seats and started the shuttle engines, flying off and leaving Sylva for the first time, entering the atmosphere with the 2 shuttles rocketing into orbit. We had debated on what planet to go to first, ultimately deciding on Calidor due to some quests we could start whilst there. So we hit the thrusters again, heading over to Calidor. Landing in the dunes, which was close to a gateway chamber, we placed down our field shelter we received from an old quest before deciding to just move everything to the gateway chamber itself. And after a brief attempt to turn it on, we just decided to set up our mini base on this new planet. Now, time works differently on different planets in this game, so due to a lack of a day counter, we're going to carry on using the same method we've been using the whole time, which is to use the time for a day to pass in Sylva, our home planet, making it easier for us and you to keep track of regardless of the planet. With camp set up, we decided to plunge underground to see what this planet had to offer, finding a site pylon which we had no clue how to use, alongside these glowing artifacts, and also finding malachite, which can become copper through smelting. So we placed the new resources along our tether line before carrying on. The cave just kept getting deeper and deeper, and we kept moving further down until, for myself and Jacob, it turned out to be too deep, too fast, causing us to both die mysteriously.
I just died somehow? What?
Guys, the king are just dying, isn't he?
I died as well.
Meanwhile, Matt, being the only sensible one out of all of us, opted to stay back, setting the base up for long-term success,
Rather than it being a bunch of generators and a shelter to end day 31. Managing to be at the back,
Kieran quickly found the root of the problem, Dagger Root, which had stabbed the pair of us from underneath, so he safely navigated down, allowing Jacob safe passage back to his backpack so he could return to exploring. Kieran then promptly suffocated after all that safety, ending his day in the caves. Back at base, I opted to stay on the surface, helping Matt in expanding our Calidor base, adding large printers and a research chamber to begin researching the artifacts we just found yesterday, which would help us to gather more bytes at a faster rate than back on Sylva. With the base in a good place, I kept expanding, adding a second research chamber to the collection. Matt spent a lot of today organizing what we'd found so far and browsing through the available blueprints we could unlock, so a rare lazy day for him. Kieran explored further down the cave, but after failing to find his backpack, he opted to just slide and fall down as far as he could without oxygen for research purposes, coincidentally reaching all the way down to the mantle depth of this planet, which meant nothing to us. So he returned back to base, leaving Jacob, who researched a landing pad recipe which we would need to complete quests on this planet and land right next to the base in the future.
after
finishing up researching our blueprints, Matt headed into the caves hunting for some more laterite and some more aluminium, as Jacob had spent the last 2 pieces on a tractor. A good purchase as we plan to explore very soon. Alongside this, we started smelting our new resource, tungsten, as Kieran had earlier constructed a smelter. For some reason though, I think his brain was lagging, Matt built a second tractor, which we didn't need at all, so I tried to ram him with our first one, nearly entering orbit somehow.
Oh, boys.
Where'd he go?
We then all headed to a nearby resource cache. I think we were expecting something different, but we got another research item instead to end the day. Jacob and Kieran stumbled upon a lot more wolframite today, which could be used to create tungsten, a huge crafting piece we'd been missing back on Sylva. So we harvested it alongside some compound and headed to our base, where we used our spare resources to craft some trailers for the first tractor as well as the second rover seat, alongside creating a buggy, and that was it. The fleet was ready for an adventure, starting tomorrow though, as we were out of time today. Off we went then, bright and early the next morning. Jacob actually was only coming out for clay, so after 20 seconds we managed to find that.
Well, there's clay.
So he took the buggy and headed to base, leaving the 3 of us on an adventure. We crossed dodgy crossings, found new biomes and plenty of debris and resource aids, before coming across a big hole that after some peer pressure,
That hole looked really, I really want to go down that.
I couldn't resist sliding headfirst down in. Back at base, Jacob began work on an area for a potential landing pad. So after moulding a spot for it, he placed it down to end day 36.
Nice, Jacob.
Hindsight kicked in mere seconds into my descent as I quickly remembered oxygen existed.
Boys.
So the panic set in. Luckily, Matt and Kieran scooped me up just in time.
Where are you?
Keep coming around.
Oh my god, we're over the ridge.
So I of course went back down, and of course I forgot to breathe again, dying right at their feet.
Matt, turn around. Oh my god, I lived.
Just stay by the truck now, yeah?
Well, I'm trying to find Malice. Ah, okay.
That's what I'm saying, we'll just... Did you die anywhere?
It killed me. And after chasing me down in the tractor, they decided to make the most of it, spending their day navigating the chasms and hunting more loot down. Back at base, Jacob was working on a friend for our pet from Sylva, grabbing a new terrarium and starting to fill it with materials local to this planet, before he found another strange item to end the day. He was off in his buggy bright and early today, this time hunting Wheeze Seed for the last piece he'd need, and after a while of searching, he returned victorious, filling the terrarium and preparing the environment. And suddenly, there he was.
Oh!
So after the right dance, he befriended our second gastropod, and after a couple failed attempts to return into the caves myself, I opted to stay back to work on base improvements instead. And speaking of caves, Matt and Kieran were tunneling out today, managing to pop out in the afternoon, so after a bit more exploring, they returned, reuniting the team once again. Now, reunited, it was home time for the time being. Although we didn't touch the gateway chambers here at all, we opted to return stocked full of the planet-specific materials to continue our upgrades at home. Clearly, we only wanted the gastropod, but we will be back, I'm sure of it. Kieran was first up, printing us a shiny new chemistry lab for synthesizing new materials. Jacob learned he couldn't place the peculiar item on this planet,
Ah, shit. Cannot activate on this planet.
which was unfortunate timing, so instead placed our new gastropod in the biolab. I unlocked dynamite to complete a quest, leaving the hard carry of the team, Matt, to go and hunt some more research samples. God knows what we'd do without him. Today was all about chemistry. With Kieran installed in the lab, this menu would allow us to create loads of new compounds which were before out of our reach. So he first tested it out by synthesizing some plastic, which got his brain cogs turning. He then took the plastic and used some extra materials to make a medium storage canister, which we decided to try and fill with resin for a quest. So I joined him in the hunt for some resin underground. Jacob also accidentally helped us out today, bringing home trailers full of the stuff. He also did some exploring whilst out, which left Matt, who began tinkering with the auto arm, which when placed correctly can hugely increase the automation of certain machines, and initially we targeted the smelter as our first piece to try and automate. Almost perfectly timed, smelting was the name of the game today for Matt, stocking up on as much aluminium as possible, whilst also moving some parts of the base around for more efficiency. After returning from the cave, me and Kieran continued
continued to fill up the resin canister, getting it closer to full. Kieran then purchased the jump jetpack recipe and created himself one for better movement.
Daddy's got a jetpack.
Jacob created some more fuel for the rocket, and I was back in the caves, collecting even more resin as we weren't quite there yet with the canister being full. This carried on into day 42, but after collecting another backpack's worth, we had filled it up completely, so I took a well-earned joyride in the tractor. Kieran reorganized the storage pile once again before starting a little mini project. He was going to smelt a lot of material to create plastic, so he could make multiple storage canisters, so we could then tame the pile a little bit as it had gotten out of hand. Jacob refilled both shuttles for our second adventure before gathering materials that we would need on the second planet, aiming to get off to a quicker start than we did on Calidor. Kieran completed his mini project today, placing down 4 more storage canisters, and with the help of Jacob, he spent his day placing raw materials into the canisters for easy access, leaving a slightly smaller pile. Also, organizing the better items into their own pile and repositioning some vehicles. Jacob then grabbed whatever else he needed for the next trip before taking his spot in the shuttle. Matt spent his day doing the same, down in the caves, grabbing resources before also organizing what he needed for the trip. And I kind of just stared at the blueprint menu for the whole day. I have no excuse. After some last minute preparations on the morning of day 44, we all piled into the shuttles and took off. This time being lured in by Glacio, an ice planet with high winds. So after getting our bearings, we began setting up our home base here. This time we had much more stuff to give ourselves a running start. We also quickly found some iron, which would help a ton with crafting, and I found a very ominous sunken area to end day 44.
Oh my fucking god.
Heading down into the red area, we managed to find our source of organic matter on this planet, and also found titanite, which could be turned into titanium, so another new resource. I then stole a medium battery from some debris
On a medium battery, boys.
to grant us extra power, before Kieran found a ridiculous amount of iron.
Holy shit, there's so much iron. What the fuck?
So he forgot about oxygen, mining until he died,
Oh fuck, I'm suffocating.
Quickly returning to carry on.
Back at camp, we kept setting more machinery up at a rapid pace until Jacob found another curious object, this time spawning what looks like to be an abandoned train station.
Dude, it's a railway.
We were tasked with the first, installing 2 medium wind turbines, so we purchased a recipe, quickly realizing we'd need resources we couldn't get on this planet, but we could get them from our home planet. With that in mind, me and Kieran hopped into our shuttle, jetting back to Sylva, taking as much iron as we could carry back with us. Before we smelted what we needed back here, refueled the shuttle before we realized we needed aluminium and we had run out. So we headed down into a cave to farm some for the rest of the day, feeling a bit of FOMO from our adventures. Jacob and Matt create the first medium rover and place 2 seats back to back, creating this monstrosity. They then set off, finding plenty of research aids, debris fields, new biomes, and finally they ran into an exocache which would kick off, well, I'll just say an awkward series of events.
What if we take the front seat off and like put these on the
Oh my god.
if they could see how we're driving this thing right now.
What, and we'll pit stop and charge it up?
Yeah.
Inspired by Top Gear, they modified their vehicle, first placing the exocache where the seats were, leaving the seats to go at the front and back, which made driving incredibly difficult.
You know,
Oh, we're going downhill.
oh,
After almost rowing the vehicle back home, where any small hill was a major inconvenience, they got back in one piece. Back on Sylva, if you are wondering, we were just crafting the wind turbines and other things we needed, only just reaching the shuttle near the end of the day. The boys then lit the fuse on some dynamite, earning the fruits of their labor. Some more rare exocaches, which were stored at base before Matt went back to base, building, and Jacob started a tunnel that would be the first steps towards something very special. Today rang true for the saying, 3rd time's a charm, as after leaving Sylva, me and Kieran proceeded to land in the wrong spot, not once, but twice. Finally, after half a day, we made it back to camp. So Kieran installed the wind turbines, earning the team 3 more exocaches, which was huge. Matt spent his day gathering an absolute fuck ton of graphite and iron, hauling it all back before I joined him, spending the rest of the day helping to improve our base and more. Jacob was continuing to tunnel his way through the planet, mainly going downwards. Just remember remember that. But for now, he filled his boots with titanium before resurfacing. After storing the 3 exocaches, Kieran then installed one to the platform before being asked to print and install a rail engine on the platform. So after researching the recipe, he realized we'd once again need resources from back home. So hopped in Matt and Jacob's shuttle, fucking fuel waster. He added to global warming on day 49 further, first by refueling the stolen shuttle, and second by grabbing copper and more aluminium before jetting back before midday to carry on his questing. Jacob was a man on a mission, buggying around the planet, searching for anything interesting, and Matt was also on a mission, but this time he found a consistent source of laterite so the cretin could stop wasting fuel now. But he was doing good work for the team today, as he placed the newly printed rail engine on the platform, which rewarded us with a rail car recipe, as well as 2 freshly printed ones, which ended his quest for today, so he went to explore some of the planet he'd barely touched. Jacob was still out and Matt was still spelunking underground, which left me standing upon a hilltop to take us to half-decade mark. And in my own words, I was getting B-roll.
What are you doing up here, Colin?
Getting some B-roll. B-roll of you guys running about.
A true champion, man. A true champion.
You know, doing God's work. Kieran was back at it early on day 50, creating a post-railway bundle, unlocking the next part of the quest, and activating the tablet he had to connect to the station to a nearby pylon, where the team combined forces and found out that you could make full-blown railway lines, blowing our collective minds. Again, don't question it, but remember that fact. So we hooked it up to the pylon close by, completing another mission. This got us a trade platform, which we were also looking for, which was another nice addition. Next, though, was our biggest mission yet. We needed to find 10 of these blue containers and feed them to the platform, and also find 20 of these argon cubes and do the same. So I took the baton from Kieran and started collecting storage crates. Jacob, taking the other baton, heading to the depths to find some argon cubes, leaving Matt, who was also still spelunking for resources, and Kieran, who was building a fucking roller coaster. Surely this stupid roller coaster won't be the single most important discovery in the first 50 days. Surely not. I printed myself a fresh trailer early on day 51 and set off on our rover to scour the planet for more of the storage containers, needing just a few more for the quest, having to drive them back one by one to the base in a slightly tedious process. But enough of that. I've asked you to remember enough things. Time for the payoff. Jacob suggested to Kieran he should reroute his roller coaster down his tunnel so he could airlift the argon cubes out of there, making it easier for the quest. Their only motivation was simply to gather more argon cubes, so they got to work, managing to get down the first little descent, continuing to plow further down.
Oh shit.
Making it almost impossible to run back up this tunnel anymore.
No!
Catch the ball.
No! I'm dead.
Other than that, Matt helped a little bit, but mainly continued to gather as many resources as he could. Also, he noticed we crept over the 100,000 total bytes mark to end day 51, which was insane progress. After a brief pause to craft some more rails to keep going, the 3 of them then took the roller coaster for its first spin. And after going upside down and doing numerous flips, the addiction had begun. Remember, they started this just to find argon cubes. They seemed to flatten it out and looked like stopping to, you know, actually do the quest, until Jacob found another hole and off they went again. Surprisingly though, they managed to find a couple of cubes to make some actual progress. For me, it was a continuation of the day prior, lugging storage containers from debris fields back to the base all day. And for Matt, he spent his day actually helping the team progress, mining around the 2 idiots and collecting whatever argon cubes he could find.
I've dropped one down the hole.
In a monk-like form of discipline, they finally had enough, opting to end the railway on this bit of flat ice, and instead we all spent the day hunting down argon cubes and storage containers, managing to grab all 10 storage containers late in the day, alongside grabbing a few more argon cubes as well as plenty of other resources.
I'm sending you 3.
Wait, it automatically puts them in as well.
Normally we do plenty in a day, but this might be the 2 shortest day stretch yet. There's nothing much more to add. We brought back some more argon cubes, found a medium generator, and mined for some resources. That's literally it.
Conductor's driving at a moderate bit. You know, the speed cameras around here, mate, you know.
Glacier has got a reputation for the odd speed cams.
I haven't seen a single one of these things.
There's not actually speed cameras.
No, not the speed camera, you twat. The fucking red box.
But trust me, that monk-like discipline was beginning to fade very fast.
Part of me wants to take the roller coaster deeper. Maybe there's more down.
As Kieran drove back down to the bottom, he was freshly loaded up on more rails, plotting an extension on the current roller coaster, still motivated by argon cubes, as we needed to find around 8 more at this point. So after finding another hole, they extended it downwards, and things were starting to get very sketchy for them. But they reached another area of flat. Surely they'll stop now and look for some argon cubes. Yeah, I was wrong about that one. They found another hole, so down they went again, and the ice shade darkened, which was probably a sign they shouldn't be building down here yet. They broke through again to what was another deep drop, and after hitting the floor, it was time to search this new cave.
Oh shit!
But it was the end of the day, so that will be a tomorrow job. And if you ever wondering where Matt is, presume he's doing something useful, which at the moment involves improving the base and farming resources. What would we do without him? We've now officially crossed the path of no return. As you've probably guessed, Kieran started digging straight down once again, handing Jacob the rails to build them whilst he digs, eventually just digging vertically down, which is incredibly stupid. And after a few minutes of digging, they popped out at another cave.
Oh my fucking god. Look how deep it goes.
This one though was a long way down, and after reaching a checkpoint and running out of rails, they had no choice but to head back, allowing them to try their roller coaster out for the first time at its new length.
Please keep your arms, legs, and hands inside the vehicle at all times.
After some more smelting and printing, they were off back down, now armed with way too many rails, still no argon cubes though, which is quite weird, and when they returned to the precarious ledge, they made a fatal mistake.
Oh shit!
Oh, I'm dead. I'm so dead.
I'm not dead.
I'm not dead.
Luckily being saved by gravity, allowing them to gently float to the surface, officially crossing into the mantle depth of Glacier. So they brought the roller coaster to its deepest point yet. Me and Matt decided to try and actually be productive, so hopped in the rover and took off, hunting a fresh cave, attempting to actually find some argon cubes. After some typical findings, including some debris fields and a gateway chamber, we found our first cave, and oh, that isn't what I think it is, right?
Oh, boys, I found like 6 cubes.
We found pretty much every argon cube we need. I hate them both. However, back with the descent team then, after a little exploring around, they once again turned their attention to digging down, and shortly into day 58, they had hit the center of the planet as they had crossed from the mantle region into the core region, which please don't let them fool you. Even though this is huge and actually is how you beat the game by activating all 7 gateway engines located within the cores of each of the 7 planets, they didn't know this yet. So in their mind, they're still fucking looking for these stupid cubes. So they kept going and broke through to an opening again,
Hole.
Oh.
Hole.
finding this.
Oh my god, what's that?
Oh wait. That's the
Right,
core.
That's the core.
And after playing around with it
Wait, what?
and losing Kieran,
I might be dead.
No.
I'm dead.
he spent the rest of the day returning back, leaving Jacob attempting to rescue his backpack. After knocking their 2 brains together for the first half of the day, they got Kieran's stuff back and stuck to their roots. If in doubt, just dig, and for the final time, it worked in their favor, breaking through to find this.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh my goodness. What the fuck, bro?
This was the gateway engine, meaning we could effectively complete this planet right here and now, taking the first one off. So they called me and Matt down for this monumental moment. And almost poetically, as day 60 dawned, we realized we couldn't fucking do it. As we A, hadn't activated not one of the gateway chambers on this planet, there's 6 of them, and B, needed a diamond to turn the gateway engine on whilst inside, and we didn't know how to make them. So we went home, slightly defeated, but now we had a plan. Turn on all the gateway chambers, figure out how to make a diamond so we can turn on the gateway engine, and finally complete the quest that started this stupid 10-day project in the first place. So let's get to it. Kieran drew the short straw sadly, so he hopped in the shuttle and was the one tasked with creating the singular diamond we needed for the planet's core. So after landing, he began the process, which goes something like this. You extract hydrogen from the atmosphere, combine that with 2 ammonium to make hydrazine, then combine that with graphite to get graphene. Then just do that one more time and combine the 2 graphene to get a diamond.
Just like Rihanna said, guys, shine bright like a diamond.
We took the first half of the day to prepare before setting off and arriving at the first of the gateway chambers just as the day crossed over to the next. So to start day 62, we hooked up our 3 power sources at each panel, turned on the generators, and after a little bit of time came the chamber. 1 down,
6 to go. We came across some argon cubes, which we will come back to later, as right now we couldn't afford to lose any power sources. And weirdly, just like yesterday, after a full day of traveling, we arrived at the second chamber just as the day was beginning to end. Kieran also returned near to the end of the day with his diamond stored safely away.
Diamond in hand.
Except he would land completely in the wrong area, so with no fuel and only his compass, he would have to get back in one piece with the risk of losing all his progress. His day resorted to lunging the shuttle along with him, so wasn't making much progress, deciding to stop by a gateway chamber, clear it up, ready for the team, or taking off straight towards us. And after struggling to turn this second chamber on,
This is getting close to running out.
No! What happened? Ah! Turn it off, turn it off!
due to our lack of power, Matt took off to find some more, whilst me and Jacob decided to go to the top in search of B-roll. Kieran and Matt made it back to base early on day 64,
Oh, I found home.
with Kieran constructing a new buggy and Matt stocking up on carbon for fuel before the pair took back off to return to the gateway chamber we were defending from the top. However, we decided to stop getting B-roll for now and hooked up all the generators. Luckily, we had just enough power to push this one over the edge and turn it on. And after Matt and Kieran journeyed through the ice, the team was reunited and ready to get the rest switched on. Day 65 was more of the same. We trekked for the first half of the day, arriving at the next chamber, easily switching it on, before taking off once again towards the next one. And luckily, we started to build up some more momentum, arriving at the next chamber in the evening of day 65.
Hold on tight, Jacob.
I'm holding, I'm gripping. Oh no. Column, no.
Where we began preparations to turn this one on too. This one, however, took a little longer than usual, mainly due to Kieran fucking around and messing with the tractor.
That's not going to reach, is it?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
You sure? Oh, definitely doesn't now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go perch like Assassin's Creed.
Oh, Kieran.
I wish he was still stranded somewhere, but we got it on eventually. This, however, delayed things, as even though Kieran found the next chamber relatively quickly, sadly, the rover wasn't so fast, so only arrived as the day came to an end. Me and Jacob worked as a duo today to turn this next gateway chamber on, which meant it'd take a little bit longer, but there was a good reason for that. Kieran had found some dynamite whilst waiting for us to arrive at the next chamber, and Matt had found some exo caches, meaning we could extract some valuable loot at the same time, so they worked on meeting up with each other, which didn't start well, with Kieran driving the complete wrong way, but eventually they met up, blowing 2 caches up at once, filling their inventories with exo chips, just as we got the chamber switched on, meaning we were back on the road, with the next one coming into view as day 67 came to a close. It's the same process today, except when we switched this one on, it was for the last time, and with all the gateway chambers on, it was time to explore the gateway engine down in the core. So we returned, blew up some more exo caches, and then all boarded the roller coaster for the final descent, which I wish sounded cooler. However, as we had stolen all the power to power the chambers, it moved rather slowly to say the least. We finally arrived to the core on the dawn of day 69, noticing the force field had depleted, so we jumped inside for the first time, and gathered around this table to place the diamond inside, except it didn't work, which confused us. Luckily, just before the panic really set in, we popped upstairs and placed it into the table instead, causing this.
Hold on. You just picked that up.
What's that?
We take that up.
We then placed this object on the original table, and there it was. We had turned on Glacio's gateway engine, essentially completing all we can do here. If only there wasn't 6 more planets we had to do. And trust me, we will get to them quicker. But for first, we had unfinished business and one last task to do here. So we took the roller coaster back to the surface and took off in the rover, hunting down argon cubes. So we went back to the place that we'd found earlier, getting us the magic number of 16 out of 20. Only 4 more to go. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, day 70 was such a write-off. All we did was just explore, trying to find the last 4 we needed, but found absolutely fuck all, so let's just move on quickly. Again, day 71 was an absolute mess. We had resorted to digging straight down,
Dig, boys, dig. I said dig.
finding a cave,
Oh shit!
finding nothing,
I can't find any.
and then struggling to dig the rover back out of said cave.
Can you dig some of these fucking spikes out there?
So, once again, it's best if we just move on from today as quickly as we physically can. Day 72 was looking like another repeat of the previous two until we were driving through a plains biome, and there they were.
Wait. There's one there.
Argon! There's 2!
Even though we nearly missed them, we managed to find and collect 2 more Argon cubes, meaning we only needed 2 more. So we drove, but found nothing. Day 73 was the one. After deciding to dive straight into another cave, after a half day of useless exploring, we had hit the jackpot. There were Argon cubes everywhere.
Oh, there's one more. There's like 5. There's like 8.
So we loaded ourselves up with the 4 we needed and started the long voyage back to base, where we could finally leave this planet. You're probably screaming at us in the comments right now for how we've been playing, aren't you? We returned early on day 74, placing the cubes in for a measly reward of 1 singular exo chip, which was a gut punch, I won't lie.
This is just an exo chip. I'm gonna kill myself.
But after concluding the quest here, Kieran received a peculiar piece which has to be activated on another planet, and coincidentally we were heading there next. Well, that was the story for 2 of us, as we had a plan, and a pretty fucking good one if I do say so myself. Kieran and Jacob were heading back to Calidor to place the peculiar piece down, but more importantly construct another death coaster to the core. Meanwhile, me and Matt were heading home to Sylva to work on making 4 diamonds to supply the team with maxed out drills for digging, before you reuniting and completing Calidor together. So with that, we jetted off and they worked on building the final rover seat they need for their journey. And after some time, they touched down on Calidor, beginning to construct their coaster, running into some power issues along the way.
We don't get oxygen down here.
No, we do not.
But they were beginning to make progress, even with Kieran face planting and dying like 3 times.
I just died. Oh no, not again.
Back at base, we emptied our stacked inventories and began the task of centrifuging, smelting and condensing the atmosphere, all towards creating 4 diamonds, which marked the end of day 75. Day 76 carried on the momentum of yesterday, with the boys slowly working their way down carefully until Kieran almost poetically died with all the rails on him.
I'm dead.
Oh my god.
And with no rail car, he'd have to run all the way back down, so they got his stuff back, returning to the mantle depth of the planet, nearly losing Jacob in the process.
No!
Oh my fucking Christ. Why did that just gain so much of the fucking land?
Oh my god.
But luckily, this planet's depth was much shallower than Glacio, so progress was coming along much faster. So Kieran died again. Don't even ask. As they got down to a very deep cave to cap off their day, back at base, I began researching and looking into creating a larger shuttle to complete more than 2 trips at a time. So I utilized the smelter and chemistry lab to start that process off. Matt was also here, but he was grinding away on the diamonds we would need for the drill mods. And just before the end of the day, we completed a quest and were rewarded with a hydrazine thruster, which was huge for my project. Matt pushed a big green button on the morning of day 77. He then pushed it again and then again, reading 0 words in the process, so I guess we would need that later. He needed some resources he remembered seeing on Glacio, so took off and did what Kieran did previously, landing in the complete wrong spot, so we will leave him to it for now. After trips of resource collecting, smelting and centrifuging, it was complete, the medium shuttle. So I placed the seat in alongside the new thruster, but needed hydrazine to power it. So back to work I go, I guess. The descent team had reached an impasse. With no rails or a car, they opted to come home to grab some nearby laterite so they could make more rails and an actual train car, which took up the rest of the day. This carried on into the morning, spending their day mining, smelting and printing more rails for this and future planets. And after leaving Kieran with all he needed, Jacob headed back into the hole to work on carving a path for when Kieran returned. After synthesizing plenty of hydrazine, my task was to work on some power sources to turn on the gateway chambers on Calidor. Without lithium, medium batteries were out of the question, so I settled on generators and began gathering items ready to take off. Matt made his way to a gateway chamber, teleporting to the core and riding the train home, spending the rest of his day creating a new shuttle so he could make his return trip. Matt then spent the whole of the next day doing what he actually came for, gathering ammonium He forgot he could just use the centrifuge, which is stupid, but he's carried the team enough to make a little mistake. I crafted some medium generators, packing them into my shuttle, alongside making more fuel. You can never have enough, right? Jacob then died instantly, so returned to help Kieran, where after a day of work, they had a 3-seater train ready to go. So Kieran drove it down to where they were to kickstart day 80.
Oh, this is where it ends. Sick.
Yeah.
Managing to retrieve the rails he lost days ago, so they got back to it, dropping further into the planet. This time though, the core found them, and with the 2 brain cells they had,
Oh, Kieran.
they plunged straight into the hole.
Kieran, we've just made it straight to the thing.
Oh my god,
Then
fuck
you
off, it's right there.
Like,
Meaning they were now stranded in the core of Calidor, as they couldn't find the hole they fell down. An absolute nightmare. Meanwhile, Matt made his grand return today, so he cracked on with making the diamonds we needed, and I carried on preparing for the next voyage. Due to the 2 idiots getting stranded, we had to push up our departure plans, so Matt made whatever diamonds he could, and I made my last bit of fuel before we got into the shuttle and headed there. We landed on the evening of day 81, where I loaded up the generators onto the trailers and Matt called the train to begin the rescue mission. We had decided to split up. Matt would head down and help them out, leaving me to switch on the gateway chambers around Calidor. Matt managed to crack through to the core, and he and Jacob luckily spotted each other.
Oh, I see you. Oh my god, you're all the way over there.
So they connected their slope and added some rails down to Kieran,
That Mary Poppins.
managing to get everyone in the train car before leaving. Not the smoothest descent, but we could now activate the core here at least. All that was left for me to do was turn on the chambers, so I spent some time preparing for hunting down the one at our home base finally, before heading down to hunt the rest. I kept up my good pace, switching on one more today, also arriving at the next one to switch on tomorrow, which would mean I got half of them done. Once the train returned, Matt gave the boys their new drill mods before setting off on his next project, working on producing some explosive powder which we'd need to switch on the core of Calidor, whilst Kieran and Jacob started preparing for their next trip. They fueled the ship up before cramming into their shuttle for the new horizons, heading to Desolo, the moon of Sylva, and a place we should have definitely gone by now, but I digress. They touched down on the 4th planet just as day 83 drew to a close. They had more of a strategy though this time, powering a small and medium printer, this time starting by building the train engine and car before plunging straight down. It's kind of emotional watching them grow a 3rd brain cell between them, so they got to work building down, using the train car for oxygen along the way. Dying wasn't on my expectation list today though, so I only managed to switch the first chamber on, just about setting off for the next, which left Matt, who carried on smelting, gathering and condensing the atmosphere in his pursuit of explosive powder. Matt gathered some more laterite to start day 85, which finally triggered the achievement to pop for gathering every raw material, only taking 85 days. Whilst waiting on his smelting, he researched the auto extractor before hitting the skies once again, returning to Sylva to finish the explosive powder project. I turned on the next chamber while also running into a very strange looking debris field whilst out, leaving the descent team, who learnt from their errors as they popped through to the core, this time opting to slowly descend to the bottom. So they rode the train back up and also hit the skies, returning to Calidor to stock up on resources, as their next goal was to power Desolo. Back on Sylva, Matt used the chemistry lab to synthesize some explosive powder, meaning activation of Calidor was close. So he returned to the planet and awaited my return, which was close as I managed to switch on their final chamber today. Jacob and Kieran raided Calidor, refueling before also returning to Sylva, as they needed a couple more items to complete their preparation. So after another day of gathering, they jetted back off to Desolo, and if you're wondering what they needed, it was the stuff to build a tractor, 3 trailers, some more power, and finally plenty of small generators, as they were setting off to activate the planet's 2 gateway chambers, which was easier than what I had to do. With Matt fully prepared and returning in the evening of day 87, we hopped on the train and began our descent to activate our 2nd planet. After inputting our explosive powder in exchange for the core activator, we slotted it in, and just like that, Calidor was online and activated. So we had a dance before using the core to teleport back to the surface. absolutely pillaging the fuck out of Calidor base as we weren't going to need a stable base here anymore. Then opting return to Sylva for our next project. Over on Desolo, the boys made it to their first of the 2 chambers, quickly activating it and setting back off to the second one, which they managed to turn on just as day 88 drew to a close. With both chambers online, they raced back to the ditch they called home, hopped in the train, armed with zinc they grabbed from Sylva and headed for the core, quickly arriving, and for the second time in 2 days, they activated Desolo's core, taking off our 3rd planet in our most productive stretch yet. And after gathering some resources on Sylva, Matt and myself touched down on Desolo 2, arriving at the base and placing down a landing pad so we could hunt down the gastropod for this planet. We filled the empty terrarium with soil, a daggerroot seed, before needing tungsten to complete it. And in our lazy ways, we didn't want to hunt some down, so sent me in the rocket to Sylva, where we knew we had some. So I landed back as a hero, only to drop a piece of wolframite, the unsmelted version of tungsten.
I thought that was
Fuck's
smelling.
sake,
I
bro.
thought it was smelling.
Back on the
Oh
rocket
my
column.
God.
And we didn't have a smelter. So I jetted back off to smelt it, slightly embarrassed, landing back and popping it in to complete the terrarium. Meaning all that was left to do was to find the new gastropod, dance in the appropriate way and befriend it, which we did fairly quickly before our worst nightmares came true. Remember that peculiar piece we had? If you do, you'd also remember it can only be used on Calidor. You know, the place we just tore apart and left? Great. Guess we're going back there for one last ride. Here we go then. We landed early on Calidor, and with the train station placed down, we were first tasked with placing 2 exo chips and 2 medium solar panels on the station. Jacob connected the railway up to the train station so we could actually finish the quests, leaving the planet joined by me, heading back to Sylva to slot the new gastropod into the lab alongside craft the solar panels we need. So we returned towards the end of the day, plugged the 2 solar panels in alongside the exo chips, completing the initial quests.
Why are you light blue?
It's still got some pink on it.
Get rid of that blue.
My other one.
No,
Well, Matt,
off
that
it
is
goes.
disrespectful.
Matt, that's outrageous.
Up next was using the data log, which was easy enough. We had to connect the current railway line to a site pylon, so we took off in pursuit of one. This one would have been tricky, but luckily we had the railway. So me and Jacob checked on the surface with Kieran underground, and quickly into the day he found one. Hooking it up, then quickly discarding it as we didn't need it. Next up, we were tasked with finding and exploding an obelisk to collect 10 shards, alongside finding 10 of them artifacts we had researched earlier. So we got to work. Kieran was working on extending the train for transport. Jacob and Matt were beginning to find a lot of them, including an obelisk, leaving me on the road again, this time hunting down a storm. For Kieran, Matt and Jacob, this day was pretty simple and repetitive. They would cool the train down, load it with artifacts, then drive it to the station to deposit them. However, for me, it was much more exciting. Around midday, I stumbled into this huge storm cloud, and needing the data from within, I knew what I had to do. And after nearly suffocating multiple times, I got the data I needed and headed home, where the boys had made some great progress. I placed the storm data into the research chamber, then pushed one of them green buttons, completing the quest just as the boys also completed their 10 artifact quest. However, I was rewarded with some strange portal and was tasked with stepping through it. So we held off until we'd completed the Calidor questline. Now we had to blow up an obelisk, so sent me back to Sylva to make some dynamite. Meanwhile, Matt started purchasing as many blueprints as we could due to our surplus of bytes. I later returned and we headed down to the obelisk we had found.
Get back!
And after blowing it up, we got 2 measly shards in return. Back to the drawing board then. Our worry was quickly subverted as Jacob found absolutely shit tons of them, so he promptly died. But that meant we spent the rest of the day gathering them up and placing them in this hole Kieran dug, so we could blow them up all at once.
Oh, I'm a little suffocate, are we?
Yep.
All that was left to do was for me to head back again and make some more dynamite, which I handled before beginning my descent to blow the rest of the obelisks up. We started the final 5 days off with a bang. After a quick dance,
Oh, shit.
we placed the dynamite into the hole and lit the match, leaving it to Jacob and Matt to stand right over the edge and die due to the explosion.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Oh, shit. Oh! That worked.
I died.
That worked.
I died as well.
Yeah, because you two were both peering over the edge.
But we quickly loaded up with the shards while they returned. Returning to base and completing the quest, leaving us with the final one to place an exo chip, aluminum alloy, tungsten carbide, and copper into the station. So we added the exo chip and then got to work on hunting down everything else we would need. We added the tungsten carbide next, then added the remaining 2 to complete Calidor, fucking finally. So we danced before quickly heading to the shuttles to finally head home.
Fly me to the moon.
We arrived back feeling the nostalgia for our home base, adding the next peculiar piece down,
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
starting the Sylva questline. We also placed an exo chip in the bio lab, allowing us to extend our range and hunt down more gastropods. Matt got straight to work working on the base, and Jacob started the train track down to the core, leaving me to head back to Calidor to pack up some machinery we would need. I started today by making a couple more runs back and forth before indulging in my true passion, flattening land, where I started work on a vehicle area. Jacob's roller coaster to the core led him through new biomes and dangerous areas where he kept pushing deeper, leaving Matt and Kieran to keep up working on the base, improving the storage and overall layout, and smelting our materials, trying to prepare for the future. Kieran then began work on a hydrazine jetpack, which would give him an aid in movement. This took up his whole day, so we will leave him here for now. Using all of his past failures, Jacob's solo venture to the core had been successful, reaching it trouble-free before returning to the surface just in time for the 100th day. I literally spent my whole day flattening land, vowing to improve the base but knocking over machines in the process, leaving Matt to once again carry the team and work on trying to automate machines which would help us move forward. Here we are then, day 100, this century mark on our journey through Astroneer. We first took some photos with our camera to commemorate the milestone, which didn't turn out too great. But before Kieran finished his jetpack project, which looked like fun, I can't lie.
Oh my god, look how high I'm going.
And then after some more base organizing, it was time. After our first 100 days, it was time to step through the portal and head to our next... Oh.
It's the DLC!
We actually just got pop-up advertised.
Guess we should probably buy that before day 101. Luckily, we had a backup plan. Matt had been constructing a large shuttle, so after attaching 3 rover seats to it, we clamped it in.
I want to be in the middle. No!
And after a full start,
Oh, and then take off. Fucking hell.
Fucking hell, man, what are you doing? Oh, is it me? Oh, sorry.
you twat. We switched the engine on and blasted off into the unknown of the galaxy, landing on Vesania, a colourful planet where our journey will continue. Having just landed on Vesania, it was time to get our bearings, meaning Jacob and Kieran shot straight downward. Old habits die hard, I guess, but without oxygen,
We have no oxygen.
they had to resurface quickly, so started setting up a basic base for us to live out of. But they still had no oxygen, so both died instantly.
I'll hit one as I go, don't worry. They ain't taking me easy.
They outstound me by how dumb they can be sometimes, so they spent the rest of the day preparing properly for the planet. Me and Matt learnt of this early,
Let's just go back to her.
so headed back with enough time, landing and beginning to prepare to activate Vesania, where we would need to turn on multiple gateway chambers whilst Kieran and Jacob tunneled to the core, so the true preparations began. This preparation for me and Matt took up most of day 102, running between stations, gathering machinery, and packaging up items we would need to traverse the planet when we returned. Meanwhile, Jacob and Kieran were landed back just as the day begun, but this time they were prepared, I promise.
Ow! What was that? Oh my... I'm dead. Oh my god.
So they dragged the shuttle back and placed down their rail platform and engine, sorting the power out so they'd have oxygen. And then, after some basic base work, down they went, building their next extravagant roller coaster to the core.
We have reached a cave.
And just as the day ended, the first accident occurred.
Oh shit, that's a cave.
Oh, fuck. No. Hold on. I'm slowly falling. I'm dead. Kieran, I've gone too fast. Uh-oh. I knew it. I'm dead.
Jacob rode the car back to the bottom, where Kieran found lithium, which was a new resource,
Gollum,
Yes, my king.
my sweet prince, I found lithium.
before he took a tumble, also dying.
Okay,
Goodbye.
thanks for that. Yep. Yeah, love the game.
Did you die?
Yeah, fucking digital cunt.
After reuniting and safely getting down the steep drop, they traversed downwards, encountering new biomes along the way.
What is that?
I'm gonna hit this mid-air. Watch this fucking shit. Yeah, hold that.
Yep, you fucked it.
Yeah, this goes really fucking deep, by the way.
Me and Matt landed today, fully prepared, so we unpacked our trailers and power sources, plugging them in and switching them on to activate the first gateway chamber. So I got the fleet ready, whilst Matt gathered some more organic as we prepared to set off for the remaining chambers. Off we went then, managing to traverse the difficult terrain along the way, where we landed at the second chamber amidst a storm. So we quickly got it switched on and got out of there. We didn't want to tempt fate. And after resurfacing, Kieran and Jacob worked on building more rails and base upgrade, including smelters and research chambers. But enough was enough. They descended to the bottom, aiming to finish the job. The core came into view on the morning of day 105.
I found him.
So they safely descended to the core surface, and once the roller coaster was complete, they hopped inside. Remember when I promised they had prepared? Well, that was a lie, as they didn't bring any graphene, which was needed to power the planet's core. So Kieran set about gathering some ammonium before heading back to Sylva, whilst Jacob worked on gathering clay for a potential landing pad. For myself and Matt, today was a rinse and repeat. We turned on the next chamber before heading off to the next one, but we will leave us journeying for now. For Jacob and Kieran, it was a little more complex. After grabbing more clay, Jacob headed underground, gathering various materials for his project, and around midday, he began printing the landing pad. Kieran was making a pit stop at Sylva, synthesizing some graphene before quickly jetting back, rather awkwardly parking the shuttle at base.
Is that floating for you?
What?
The shuttle. We'll leave it there for now.
This then allowed them to complete Vesania, but they had something else to find first, the gastropod.
Whoa, that
Jeez,
one's
fit.
cute. Oh,
So they filled the terrarium with the 3 resources it needed before tracking it down and beginning the process of finding which remote was the correct one. Very early on day 107, they befriended the gastropod and placed it within the terrarium before it was back to the main objective. Me and Matt had completed all the gateway chambers, so we made our way home.
Why is our rocket floating?
And why is it in the wrong place?
Prepare for takeoff back to Sylva, packing up whatever we needed. Kieran and Jacob were also heading home, after they slotted the graphene into place, activating the core and completing Vesania, meaning it was time to remedy a mistake which we made earlier. After playing with the new emotes and equipping a new suit, Kieran and the rest of us prepared some more before taking back off and landing on Sylva. And with our recent purchase of the Glitchwalkers DLC,
Here we go.
we could now step through the portal properly. So we went, with no clue what we were about to get ourselves into. And after popping out at a satellite station, we were quickly ejected in a shuttle once again and landed on the surface of Aeoluz. A new adventure awaited, but we would have to start from nothing, this time as everything we once knew and had was gone. And after some adjusting to our lack of equipment,
We can go back and then plot.
I died.
we were keen on figuring out what had happened. We checked Frank's manual, which tasked us with activating an alpha vault, which luckily we had discovered earlier in the day. So we constructed some tethers and headed there, which led to half of the day being wasted on figuring this rather simple puzzle out. But we got it done, which opened this drawer. So we entered the alpha root kit we found in the drawer, and yeah, I'm also just as confused as you probably are right now. Well, it's about to get worse, as we now had to get level 2 storm protection alongside counter hacking something. So with our brains hurting, we got to the basics, as we couldn't proceed without blueprints and most importantly equipment. We spent time on day 110 gathering resources, whilst Kieran remained back crafting what he could, getting a research chamber, multiple printers and a smelting furnace. For some reason our blueprints were also hacked, but we could still make a tractor, and based on how much it had carried us for the first 110 days, we began constructing it to the end of the day. We started day 111 by constructing a ruby, which would help us produce storm data from the various storms we would need to read. We then researched the trailer, and after some gathering and smelting, we began producing 3 of them until Jacob decided to, well, hinder the process.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh my god, look how far he went. Oh god.
I don't know what Ruby is.
Oh my god, fuck off. You're gonna piss me off, buddy.
We topped this with a rover seat
That's Matt this time. That's Matt.
Don't you join in, Matt.
That one.
And took off, searching for a storm so we could try to complete our next quest, acquiring some storm protection.
Jacob's got to sit in the baby seat.
Yeah, Jacob's been put in the baby chair.
And just as the day ended, we arrived at the edge of the storm.
I don't think we're making it out alive.
Matt broke his kneecaps early today,
Oh god.
We gotta be careful.
I died.
so he will be MIA for a while, leaving me, Jacob, and Kieran to enter the storm. We simply had to find these data swirls and leave the Ruby device near to extract the data. However, we were suffocating in a matter of seconds.
Holy fuck, we're suffocating quick.
Yeah, it's quick.
Oh my god, we're gonna have to run in and out.
Normal people would try to craft something to aid them, but we proceeded to run in and out in some sort of strange relay race.
It's like some fucking fucked up shuttle runs.
This is definitely not the way you're meant to do this.
No, it's not.
I'm suffocated, I
Ruby's
died.
getting-
Moving the trailer where we needed it to go. And after doing this all day, we managed to get it stuck. So Kieran sacrificed himself to get it out and closer.
He's plugged in, tagging out. I'm in. Dig me up. I'm bringing him home. I'm in a ridge. It doesn't matter if I die. I'm dead. Take over.
Leaving Jacob to drive it out with one piece of storm data.
Well, now we gotta dig out.
That took all day, so we drove back to base, proud of our efforts. After combining to rescue the truck yesterday, Kieran couldn't help digging a ditch and getting Jacob and the tractor stuck.
You don't want to test me, Matt.
No.
But this left Jacob hanging, which somehow counted as driving a rover mid-air for 10 seconds, so we grabbed the achievement for it. We will take it though.
I just got the achievement for drive a rover airborne for 10 seconds because I'm just... Do you want it?
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Just got it.
Now, with the tractor stuck, Kieran had to pay the price of working on getting it out. Back at base though, we realised we needed a lot more storm data, so we set a plan in motion. Kieran arrived with our first tractor, but we were planning upgrades, so we got to work, gathering for the rest of the day. After some more gathering, we started our crafting, starting with ruby devices, and after some smelting for aluminium and more rubies were printed. We made one more trailer and finally started to print 3 more tractors. You've probably gathered by now, but we're constructing a fleet of 4 tractors with rubies hooked up to the back of them, aiming to gather a shit ton of storm data. The crafting continued into day 115, and early into the day it was complete, so we took our places and took off.
Onward, men. Oh my god, I went down a hole. You're such a bellend.
After some struggle, we were back at the storm. Kieran and Jacob would take the left flank, leaving me and Matt to take the right.
Does Mala shite here? We got any of that?
Malashite.
Yeah, Mala shite.
And this plan worked a treat, dipping in and out and parking our trucks by various storm data points.
How do you know if it's full?
Moved slightly
It fills
forward
up on the side of the antenna.
Oh,
like it tanks.
Our inventories were quickly filling up.
That's 3.
It's actually a bit easier than we made it out to be.
Just as quickly as day 115 began to end.
After finishing up early this morning, we opted to head back, simply because we ran out of room. So we parked up back at home and began feeding storm data into the shelter, quickly gaining storm protection level 2. Having plenty spare, but we were hungry for more. So we booted up the engines once again, this time taking off for the second storm, and this time we had no clue what we were walking into.
Do you want to go make it a bit more friendly now?
And after some tricky traversing, I lost my trailer somehow.
Monkey.
What? My trailer's gone.
And we lost Kieran. Not the ideal start to a new adventure we were looking for. After we cleared the dangerous heights of the Pink Valleys,
Column, fill me up.
my luck once again came up short and I slipped into a hazard and died.
Oh no, I'm dead.
Opting to begin focusing on the overlooked quests we had. Jacob was ahead of the other 2 though, so he laid eyes on the storm first, and all looked normal until he saw this.
Oh my god, it's all the way up there. Nah, that's a piss take, bro.
Surely we would return when we were better equipped. Nope, he started making a bridge immediately. Just as Kieran came in from a separate angle,
It just loaded in. What the fuck?
beginning his own bridge where Matt joined him. Sadly though, Jacob built too far from his trailer, suffocating in the progress.
I've had a nightmare, boys.
You've fallen down that ridge.
No, I'm gonna suffocate.
Oh, because the bridge is too big?
Yeah, it's too long. Oh, I'm dead.
joining me in my quest, which led me back to the storm. Kieran and Matt spotted some exo caches on day 119.
Oh, there's two. There's two.
So kept that in mind before getting back to it. But you couldn't write what happened next. Kieran did the same thing that Jacob did, but this time
I'm suffocating.
Matt was there just in time. Until Kieran put his foot in the wrong spot, and well, the rest was history. Matt pressed on in honor, reaching the larger canyon where he began to scale and reinforce our past bridges. Kieran was back to building a new tractor, aiming to grab the 3 of us and take off, restoring the 4 tractor fleet eventually, leaving me and Jacob, who found a gateway chamber.
Oh, shit.
So we inserted a counter hack key we'd received earlier.
How did you get that? What?
Right, now we got to play Pass the Parcel or something. Do we have to put it on there?
Receiving an alpha shard back, which we took to the wrong place.
Okay, so that doesn't do anything. What's this called? This is called the Alpha Vault. We need to go to the Alpha Gateway Terminal. So we was at the right place, no?
Before returning to the chamber to end day 118. And after some fiddling, we finally found the right place and repaired the terminal.
Boom.
All that was left was to power it.
With what?
How we powered the other ones.
Oh.
And luckily, we knew a man building exactly what we need. Kieran entered the storm, and after some awkward maneuvering,
I'm just having to pull one of the biggest fucking U-turns you ever seen.
he arrived in the gateway chamber.
All me, Colin, all me.
Stocked full on organic matter, so we powered it up, receiving our new mission, system warning, so it was back to the base to regroup. At the other storm, Matt slowly traversed up, reaching a nice flat bit just outside the storm. So he placed a beacon before this time, beginning his descent. He was after the exo cache, so he carefully worked down the canyon. Meanwhile, at base, we completed the quest, being given a Vault Seeker alongside a field shelter and a paver with the recipe for future ones. And instead of manually creating paths and digging as our drills were becoming rather useless, we started work on our next project, the medium rover.
Boom. We need 2 plastic and a rubber.
Creating a mega fleet. So we researched and crafted the chemistry lab where Kieran began synthesizing exactly what we'd need for the medium rover, leaving Matt, who touched down on the floor, spotting Kieran's body, planting a seed which completed his collection for the achievement. But more importantly, he found exo caches as well as some dynamite. And you know what happens next? And within 3 exo chips, he crafted something which could be a game changer to end day 120, the hoverboard. And after playing with his new hoverboard, he returned to the makeshift base camp at the base of the second storm, where he began to construct a path to the entrance, learning you suffocate much more quicker here than before. Meanwhile, back at base, we were beginning to construct our route back, the medium rover. So we synthesized materials and gathered even more, where we hooked it up to our 3 trailers and added some generators, and tried out the paver to mixed success. Turns out we couldn't figure it out, which made sense, so we opted to start looking into the drill we could build and attach to the front instead, as soon we would have to venture underground. So after half a day of crafting, we placed it on the front and it sparked to life and began to work. So with it operational, we loaded into the rover, and with Kieran behind the wheel and me making sure I had the portable decipher machine, Ruby and a field shelter in my bag, leaving us to set off to return to the second storm, where the drill quickly became the MVP, making the tough traversal incredibly smooth. And in anticipation of our arrival, Matt constructed some printers and tried to power it as much as he could. The storm entered our view today, as well as the canyon we'd all fallen victim to previously. So, of course, Kieran fully sent it once again. What an idiot. But he made it across and up to our new base. So Jacob retrieved his backpack and tractor. I inherited Kieran's old tractor.
She's all yours, Colin. She's a big girl. Manage her well.
And with that, our fleet was fully restored and even improved. So we headed to the ground floor and made our hoverboards, just in time for Jacob to uproot all that progress by dying. So he tried to maneuver the single tractor back, managing to fall through the map.
I've fallen through the map.
But he did land in the crystal caverns.
No, I found, you know, one of those things at the start where we did the puzzle,
which would open our eyes to where we needed to eventually go. And due to having no oxygen, he quickly suffocated. So worked on the base in the meantime, which left me, Matt, and Kieran to work. Remember, we had no clue what we were doing. So we set our spawn with the field shelter and spent all day trying to figure out how to get into the storm without any extra steps. But that was pointless. So we loaded in the medium rover and took back off, because if the solution isn't up there, then it must be underground. Luckily, we had constructed the drill for this entire reason. So we went down and quickly a fucking huge chasm revealed itself.
I think we're going in the right direction. This definitely looks like a crystal kind of cavern.
And normal players would slowly build down, maybe use the drill to spiral. Nope, we flung ourselves straight over the edge and we found what we needed very quickly. Another vault to solve.
Godspeed, Colin.
Oh my god, this makes me feel sick.
Oh shit. Wait, I see the vault. It's to the right.
Wait, we actually landed at the vault.
So we parked up and proceeded to solve the puzzle, being rewarded with a key to slot into the portable decipher machine I had brought. But that was back at the storm. So now came the punishment for flying down a huge hole, getting back out. But at least now we shouldn't die in the storm immediately when we eventually return. Jacob made our future life a lot easier, gathering anything he could find for future crafting, as he was a bit disconnected from the action for now. And nothing could prepare the three of us for how fucking awkward getting out of here was. So I won't waste your time. We drove all day trying to find a wall, finding one right at the end of the day, so began tunneling out.
What?
I'm not in the back of the truck anymore.
Yeah, he's not in the back of the truck.
Oh no.
Where I had drifted a bit too far away, so also died, returning to the storm base, which wasn't ideal. So I spent my day exploring around the biomes and moving our base up and closer to the storm for the pending return of the underground duo, where they went to work, using the drill to spiral up a cylindrical bit of rock before cracking through and shooting straight for the surface.
Yes, Matt. Daylight. Oh my god.
Holy shit. Yeah. Fucking hell. Whereabouts are we then?
Where they came out just as day 127 drew to a close. And just as they set off, they ran back into me.
Oh, who's to our left?
What do you mean?
He's right next to us. He's right there.
Who is? Colin?
In this tractor. Yeah, to the right now.
Am I?
I'm just...
On my compass, it says you're far away. Oh, I am right next to you.
Right
What the
there.
fuck?
What a fucking coincidence that is.
So with us being reunited, we decided to reunite the whole team before tackling the second of 3 storms. So we returned to base, crafted some new trailers due to losing them on the ascent, and attached a solar panel and a medium battery I had found to the rover, which would assist us a great deal while gathering future storm data. And after a day full of it, Jacob got in the back of my tractor, leaving Matt and Kieran in the rover they'd grown attached to. And with the team back at full strength, we took off, aiming to grab all the data from the second storm. But sadly, I've told you a big lie. So we kind of left the Delta root kit we needed on my dead body down in the crystal caverns, so back down we go. Oh, and if you're wondering, yeah, it took us all day to get back there. Thank God for the beacon. Time to get in quick and clean, retrieve the key and head back to the storm. It was only a slight mistake, so we headed down to fix it, and surprisingly got down rather easily. So Jacob retrieved the root kit, which would allow us to last longer in the storm to gather data, and we proceeded to head back up, just as quick as when we'd entered, popping out just as day 130 ended. Now we could finally enter the storm. The journey back was as seamless but also as sketchy as ever, but we arrived, and after entering the root kit we could finally last more than a second in the storm.
So I just plonk him in?
Yep. Now we have storm protection, and now we should be able to go in and then get more storm data to get more storm protection.
Let me see if we die then.
It shouldn't hack you instantly.
Oh, we good.
So time to repeat the process from before, driving the ruby close to the storm points and gathering data, rinsing and repeating until we were full, and then activating the gateway chamber. Easy. Absolutely not this time though. We had to tunnel upwards, nearly losing Kieran this time.
Oh my fucking god, I'm right. Don't push me!
But luckily he was saved, and we turned this area into our new base camp for the foreseeable future.
So we're just gonna build a big fucking highway across to that next thing. Oh wait, there's one right there.
And after all the setup and all the waiting, it was time to start the grind. So we waited for storms, drove it in, and let Ruby do their work.
No! Oh, I'm dead, I'm dead.
Do you even have a ruby on the back? No, you banged the decipher.
But progress was coming very slowly.
Boom.
So there's not much to report on day 132. We got a few pieces of storm data, but nothing extraordinary. So on to the next day. And things only got worse, as the rover, which was giving us our only real shot due to the medium battery, was lost to a fall.
Oh no. Oh no. Why has my rover slipped through the map?
Oh, we're in big trouble.
All Kieran's fault, which left us at rock bottom, relying on one tractor and one ruby, which was barely powered. So we kept working, while Kieran died multiple times in an effort to save the rover, and luckily he got it back in operation.
I've saved him. Can you see him? He's poking out the wall.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
Which allowed the storm data to start rolling in. It just had to get worse before it got better, as we now were over halfway to maximum storm protection level 2. And today it got even better, as Kieran took his rover and drill and spiraled his way from the floor up to the gateway chamber.
Hi guys. Look up.
Can't see you.
Allowing more opportunities to grab storm data as well as unlimited oxygen, which was huge. So we joined him before an explosion went off, nearly ending everything.
Oh my god!
It's that fucking glowing thing over there.
And after that close call, we got the counter hack key from the storm data and completed it. So started digging the gateway chamber out, ready to switch it on. And early on day 135, we used the counter hack key on the chamber.
It's going in. Right, puzzle time.
Solved the Delta Shard puzzle.
Let's go.
And now we got to power it.
Oh yeah.
And inputted our army of small generators into the 3 slots and began to power the chamber.
Yes. On to the next storm.
We had completed it, meaning we had 2 of the 3 storms activated. However, the last one would be even more challenging, taking us to higher points and deeper chasms, so we took the rest of the day to prepare for the voyage, packaging up our stuff and assembling the fleet ready for takeoff. When the game decided we were making too much progress, so with Kieran inside, it shot our medium rover into the nucleus, the core of the planet we couldn't even access yet, losing it forever.
Oh my god, you just disappeared off our screen, Kieran.
What the fuck is going on?
Where are
Where's he
you?
gone?
I'm smack bang in the middle in the nucleus. My fucking trailer's in there.
So with that huge blow, we had to change our plans. Kieran popped back out at the base as we collected our field shelter already. So after crafting a new rover seat, we took off with the goal to return to the main base, as there was no way we could complete the game without A, a medium rover, and B, the drill on the front of it. So Kieran worked on crafting whatever he could to try and replace the damage, whilst we gathered resources on our long journey home, which we completed as the day ended. Returning to base, time to get ready for storm number 3.
Hello.
And now back at base, we began churning out new trailers, the medium rover
God knows why it's building at that angle, though, I'll be real.
and the large rover seat, which Kieran found and printed. And when we placed it on the medium rover, we learned it definitely wasn't meant to be used on a medium one.
Boom.
Oh my god.
That...
Why is it that direction?
But it still worked, so we kept it around,
This drive's literally the same.
leaving the rest of the day to assemble the trailer setup, opting for the drill from before, generators and solar panels. And with the rover 2.0 completed, we all clamped on and set off.
That's dancing in his chair. That's so buggy.
In search of the 3rd and final storm. Maybe we could return home sooner than we thought. The 3 trailer setup certainly made the ledges a bit more difficult, but we passed through all the biomes we had encountered up to this point, finding this strange landing point and, more importantly, an RTG power source.
Oh, QDT!
Oh shit, what a find.
Which was unreal. So we corrected an earlier mistake and decided to head underground first, so we could find the root kit and then go to the storm, unlike last time. So we maneuvered down our previous tunnel and continued to dig down, however slowly, until a second and even deeper hole appeared. So after some debate of how to approach it, we held a majority vote and the answer was obvious.
Let's just send it.
So we plunged straight in to end day 138.
Into the pit we go.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Oh god, this is not a good idea. No, it's alright, we're good. Just give it a minute. There's not a bottom.
Oh.
The thing's on the right behind us.
Holy shit.
Do you see it?
Oh yeah, it's right there.
And after a smooth landing, we also landed close to a nearby vault, which we would need. So we traversed it and began to solve the puzzle, which was easy enough as even idiots can get something right after 3 prior attempts. So I grabbed the Zeta root kit.
Boom. Now we go to the storm.
Before it was time to get back out. And like I said, even idiots can learn from their failures. And with Jacob down here now, we decided to use the core's anti-gravity to our advantage. So after an awkward entry,
Reverse, we'll just thicken it up, it'll take 2 minutes. Or not. No. No bueno.
We could now plow straight up and out.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it
god.
does.
Yeah, buddy.
Returning to the surface, so off we went. And after an awkward exit from the anti-gravity,
I'm stuck in the wall.
we entered the crystal caverns, leaving us just to find the hole we came down, which wouldn't be easy. And on a pretty meaningless day of searching the caves for our hole, Kieran fell from a high place and died.
No!
So he worked on meeting us, hopefully by the entrance to the hole, whilst we continued to search aimlessly for an exit. And after the whole day of searching, getting the rover stuck, and more searching, we saw the entrance to the way out. Thank God for that. The first half of the day was just us getting out, but we managed it in the end, reuniting with the dancing Kieran at the top, opting to leave the tractor behind for the rover. And after driving through more biomes, we reached the second storm. And with zero plans to try and go around, we opted to drill straight through the fucker, which made our lives much easier. And after some more awkward ledges, we reach a new biome on the other side and successfully passed the second storm.
Canoodle your way up here, mate.
Surely that was the hard part over. Oh, for fuck's sake.
I'm gonna channel my inner coach driver. Is there just some maniac here just like pressing the terrain button?
So with this stupid mountain range in front of us, we started to traverse it, realizing about halfway in that only the drill could destroy anything.
So if we got it stuck,
It was game over.
This is horrible. Now we're hanging. This is the problem. If I fucking beach the rover, it's fucking over.
So after multiple close calls and my character dying to a literal 2-foot drop,
Mr. Krabs, I'm feeling it.
it's okay, Sponge. Sponge, it's okay. What did I just die to? I'm back at base. Fuck's sake.
it left the trio to press on in my honor. With the newfound freedom, I decided to head out in search of more vaults, thinking maybe they could give us items to help. So it will leave me to do that for now. And back at the mountain, after even more close calls, they breached through and reached the third and final storm, learning this one wasn't to be messed with. So they did what they knew, found a cliff face and constructed a temporary area to dock the car, deciding this time they were going to head straight for the gateway chamber and harvest storm data from the center. So they filled their soil canisters and began construction of a bridge to the center. And after swapping in and out, extending the bridge inch by inch, they made it. So Kieran drove it in with all the care of his prior driving. So absolutely fuck all.
Stop. Oh my goodness. No!
Where they forced it inside and had a decision to make. Either bridge down to the core or all get in and fall down. So after a quick assessment, they of course got in and fell through to the center of the chamber. They fell just outside the chamber, but luckily they could breathe still. So navigated and spent all day building a ramp up to the center, which they didn't even need for now, as they had to harvest data first. Idiots. So it was time to grind out this storm data for the final storm. So they kept the same process, driving it up and letting Ruby do the work, moving it periodically and pocketing the data to feed the device. Except progress this time was the equivalent of a snail's pace, so getting max protection was straight out the window. All we wanted now was to hit the bare minimum to turn the gateway chamber on and access the core of the planet. We still had a lot left to do back home, so wanted to leave Aeoluz as quick as physically possible. And after 2 days of grinding, bearing in mind we only needed like 7 pieces this whole time, we inputted them into the device, just hitting the minimum to unlock some storm protection alongside the counter hack key. So they finally used the ramp they built and proceeded to utilize the small generator method. However, they had no organic, so started to work on that. So after taking care of the lack of organic, it was a simple process to get the final gateway chamber on and complete the third of the 3 storms in the DLC world. But we weren't finished yet, as we needed to get to the core now. However, they had to get back to the top, so sent Matt through the portals to fill up multiple soil canisters so they could begin building their way to the rover. And after another half day of repeating the same process of filling canisters and constructing the ramp, they left the third storm and returned to our cliffside base. And we'd figured out we need at least the second tier of drill to get to the core successfully, which meant we'd have to usually trek all the way back home, but now we could teleport to the first storm, which was close to home. So they headed down to the teleporter towards the end of day 148, and in the last few days I'd been on the road in my new rover, so I also began to head towards the storm so we could all meet up and reunite back at base for the final descent. So after a couple botched attempts going to the wrong storms, we all landed back at the Alpha storm, but we could worry about reuniting later as we had limited oxygen and a decent amount of distance to gain. So we hustled straight out of the storm and back towards the base.
It's fine. You can still use the water power.
He got licked.
And once we'd returned, we had to craft the drill strength 2, which required more bytes than we currently had. In order to unlock the atmospheric condenser, we need to craft it. So we put some stuff on to research and hooked a lot of small generators up to help with power and speed. Day 150 is next, and we are still mainly using small generators. I love it. After some more gathering and crafting, we first constructed the atmospheric condenser after we unlocked the recipe. So we forced Jacob to construct the parts needed for the drill, as he had never used the chemistry lab or the atmospheric condenser in 150 days. So he synthesized some materials very slowly, but got us there all the same.
Look at what's powering our base right now. 4 small generators.
Passing it on to me to craft the final product, giving us just enough time left in the day to race back through the storm and back to our cliffside rover base, where Kieran slotted on our brand new drill to end a monumental day 150, as now we could proceed to the core and hopefully complete any trials down there and finally return back to our solar system. No more stepping into mysterious portals when we were back, I promise. We had been here for over 40 days, having to start from zero, never knowing if we'd ever make it back to our home on Sylva, but this could be that chance. So we climbed into the 4-seat rover and took off for the core. The digging down was going very well, making it to the crystal caverns, trying to descend properly until it was time to fly.
Fucking get in, it's a tomorrow problem, innit, really? Let's be fucking real here.
Let's go.
Oh, bit anticlimactic. We are. Oh, God.
Matt's gonna have to do the.
What if I fall when I get out?
We're fucked, mate.
If he falls off, then we're cooked.
Either way, we're cooked, right?
He's good.
Oh!
He's good.
Get in.
Right, Matt. Get in.
Oh my god. And then it was back to digging until an unfortunate slip of the keyboard led to our driver falling out.
Oh no, hold on.
Wait.
Oh, I got out by accident.
Oh, are you dead?
So we were down to 3 of us, as he was benched for the next couple days. So after descending even more, and after multiple falls, we arrived. Falling headfirst into the core was the only way we were going to do anything. So with our second member put on the bench as Jacob somehow transcended the force field, reuniting with our rover from earlier.
I'm inside.
Ow!
I accidentally glitched inside.
It was down to the 2 of us to finish the job. And after searching around for a lot of day 152, we found the DEM device that the Frank person had left us. So once activated, it triggered a cutscene. I'm activating it. Cutscene.
Oh, is this the end of the game? Is this the end of the game?
I'm getting cutscene.
This is the end of the game. We've cheated the end.
Wait, what?
This is it. This is the final.
Wait, it might not be. It might not be.
What is going on?
Are you seeing this?
Yeah.
we are.
Okay.
This is it.
Look at all the tractors and stuff on the outside.
I'm just gonna plug away.
Hold on. Then that's the way home. We've done it.
Wait, what?
We cheated it again.
We cheated the end.
Get in.
Are we sure?
No, I'm joking. It just brought down the iron. It brought the firewall down. Fuck.
Where all 3 storms had been reactivated, but this time inside the core, which is when the person behind it throws me, Jacob, and Kieran in place. Why can't I do anything? I can't move.
Because Matt, it's all Matt, isn't it?
Oh. Meaning it was all down to Matt, the last person who could help bring us all home. So after assessing his surroundings, the only place to go was simple for Matt. So he leapt from beam to beam and then took a leap of faith into the first storm, where he found the first key of 3 we needed.
I've made it to 1.
Wait, Matt's at the centre.
I died and I spawned at the field thing that Matt went in.
And now, with Jacob able to move again, they took 1 storm each, with Jacob floating into his storm gracefully,
Oh yeah, that's the route. I'm in.
grabbing the key, leaving it up to Matt, where he grabbed the last key with ease, beginning his descent back to the bottom, where he entered it.
Like Mary Poppins.
Oh, yes. Wait, hold on. There's Frank. He's fucked.
I think it's Frank. It might not be. I don't know who the fuck that is. And this prick was finally stopped once and for all. We had done it and helped out Frank, so a win-win. Finally, we could go home.
What?
So, on the morning of day 154, we headed back home through the teleporter with one thing in mind, returning home. We still had a lot to do, so it was urgent priority. So we got to work at the base gathering materials, powering the base and crafting rover seats and our fuel supply to get us back in one piece. Still using small generators after all this time. And after another day of work gathering, smelting and printing, we had printed the 2 small shuttles and prepared them for takeoff. We had a roller coaster ride of a time in Aeoluz, but had completed it all the same. So having to leave everything behind, we had to rip the hoverboard out of Matt's hands, and after he wiped his eyes, we started the thrusters, heading back to our home planet. And it was glorious, landing back and taking it all back in.
I have returned.
Including a new large solar panel and wind turbine to greet us, which was a nice addition. So we plugged them in
Well, that's pretty sick.
and began to make our plans for our next move, as there was still plenty to do.
Like, a lot of the quests are just easy, like it's fucking trade platforms and print stuff.
I've missed this.
In terms of what was left, we still had multiple planets to switch on and explore, a lot of achievements and a couple gastropods left to find. So let's get to it, shall we? Matt started his project to try and increase the efficiency of our soil centrifuge, so we don't have to keep flying between planets for 1 or 2 resources. So he began by crafting a large platform and gathering materials for a bigger canister. Kieran crafted a trade platform,
Trade platform. There we go.
plugging it in before researching a large shredder for his next goal. Jacob drove around all day looking for clay,
Bro, is clay even on this planet? Where is it?
leaving me to research an RTG and look into crafting it.
We need nanocarbon alloy and lithium. How the fuck do we make that?
But we needed helium, which wasn't here. So I drove the hamster ball in frustration. Kieran opened up day 157 by completing his first trade, sending the rocket up for a measly 2 organic,
There we go. Whoa, it's fucking sending my scrap up to the sky.
so he claimed the rewards and printed a large shredder, so he spent his day scrapping wherever he could find.
Yeah, I was funny ones too as well.
Matt's day mainly spent grabbing more materials and setting up more platforms. Jacob entered his I don't know what to do mode,
Are you the resource I need?
so did absolutely fuck all apart from crafting the last 3 landing pads we needed, leaving me to craft and prepare for our next voyage. But I had a pit stop to make first. That pit stop brought me back to Glacio, which was meant to be a routine trip.
Oh, I fucked up. I took the wrong rocket.
But I didn't check my fuel reserves beforehand, so for now I was stuck. This news didn't really impact the team back at base, where Jacob did some scrapping with Kieran, where Kieran took off in the tractor for more scrap. Jacob could have took his chance to come and get me, but he did fuck all.
That didn't have enough fuel,
Oh my
so I just went to orbit and came back.
And Matt continued working on his medium soil canister setup, which he had worked pretty well, but continued tinkering until the end of the day. I hate them all.
I think Matt's off anyway, so I think you're all good there, mate.
That was an outrageous pass the task along from Jacob there. Fucking outrageous. Did you hear how little effort he put into actually wanting to help then?
Luckily, Matt came to my aid today, where we filled up on graphite before he returned back to Sylva to continue our work. He continued to tinker and perfect his soil centrifuge setup. I got what I came for finally by condensing some argon on Glacio, leaving Kieran to spend the first half of his day continuing to grab scrap for the shredder before he wanted a change of pace. So grabbed Jacob for help and headed down to the mantle depths of Sylva in search of the 10 magical mushrooms they needed for Sylva's questline. But they obviously found the wrong ones at first,
Research item that's a mushroom.
so got straight back to looking.
Mugged off by a fucking mushroom.
Jacob managed to find them today, luckily, which was a good start.
Oh, I found one. Mysterious mushroom. They do just look like really mysterious mushrooms.
Actually, finding like 4 of them at once until him and Kieran both died.
Oh, I died as well.
1 step forward, 2 steps back. So they returned, died again,
Well, I'm dead.
and returned 1 more time to start finally bringing the mushrooms back up to the surface. And after some more argon farming, I packed up my makeshift setup and returned back to Sylva before plotting on the next steps I'd need to take to complete more advanced quests. Where Matt had his soil set up in a good place, so borrowed from our time in the DLC
and crafted himself a drill, taking it for a test drive to end day 160. The underground duo started the process of collecting their magical mushrooms, as they required 10 of them for the quest, and after collecting 4 of the 10, they decided to come back up to quickly craft some tethers, allowing them to breathe as they lifted the mushrooms back and forth. I set my sights on the extractor quest, so began crafting the tungsten carbide and rubber I'd need to complete it, and with it done, I unpacked and plugged it in, and it was fucking huge, which left Matt, who just kept chugging along with his soil project, using the drill to fill his soil canister up. I mainly spent day 162 trying to figure this extractor out, eventually attaching a medium canister to the top, figuring out it works like a quarry, digging into the ground for nuggets of specific resources, but I just kind of flung it around all day. Matt spent his day further tinkering with the soil setup. I have no clue what the goal is, to be honest, but he also crafted some stuff for a drill mod, which left the duo underground, who had found all 10 mushrooms they needed along the tether line, of course with deaths thrown in the mix for good measure.
Oh, fucking stupid idiot.
I died as well.
Now they just had to lift it all back to the roller coaster for transport, and this process literally took all of day 163, driving the coaster up and down to transport them, but they got the quest done, being rewarded with a couple new jetpacks. Their sights were now set on Astronium, a resource they needed 32 of, and after finally parking my extractor and powering it up, I switched it on and let it get to work. So alongside Matt, we began preparations for a voyage to New Horizons, so packed some machinery into the large shuttle alongside filling our own inventories up, as we were the ones this time tasked with constructing the roller coaster to the core. And after some more preparations, we were off, with our eyes set on the final planet we could travel to, Atrox. So we arrived and touched down in the dunes of Atrox, a green foggy planet, and we got straight to work, unpacking our landing pad alongside our other equipment, setting up our temporary camp here. And with a stroke of luck, Kieran managed to spot some astronium in the ceiling. So after a quick jetpack up, it turned out to be a fucking huge deposit. So they got to work harvesting it and transporting it back up, where Kieran found an even bigger deposit further in, which allowed Jacob to load the train with more than enough, which is helpful as it can be used to trade for some premium items back at base. They completed the quest with ease on the morning of day 165, which somehow transported a guy here for a split second before he disappeared.
Oh, I've got a cutscene.
Yes, Whoa, who's that?
There's a dude.
There's a guy. Is that the Wanderer?
Oh, he fucked up.
Ender Pearl.
But Kieran did steal his suit design and emote, which left me and Matt to continue working on our base, setting it all up, and once that was done, it was time to build. So we began digging and placing roller coaster tracks just in time for Kieran and Jacob to touch down as day 165 drew to a close. Jacob and Kieran assembled their tractor setup as they had the job of turning on all the gateway chambers on this planet.
Do you want to grab that? Oh my god, Kieran, run! Oh!
So one explosion later, they arrived at the first one, where power sadly was an issue. So far, we could just run the small generator method, so they tried to figure that out for the rest of their day. Mine and Matt's roller coaster took us through caves and drops into different biomes and forever closer to the core, so we both kept on plowing forward for the rest of the day. Turns out, we need 10 power per each platform instead of the typical 2 power per each platform, so 5 times the amount, so they had to change their plans. After an initial plan of Kieran saying to build 30 small generators, they opted to return to Sylva to build some medium generators and smelt some carbon to power them, giving them 9 power per generator. And I can't lie, you've seen the process by now enough. So me and Matt kept on plowing downwards with the core, our goal. Matt decided to resurface on the morning of day 168 to work on our Atrox base, which with his help had become the second base we'd built. The bar wasn't high enough though, let's be honest, and after multiple days of work, my roller coaster finally docked at the final destination, the core of Atrox. So now all we needed was the chambers to be switched on, and after some more home time crafting, the boys returned from Sylva and continued to set up their 2 trailers stocked with 3 medium generators, plenty of fuel, and some RTGs for power. And with the fleet assembled, they took off on what would be the worst trip of all time to the second chamber. But first, they stopped by the first one and tested their fuel, which proved enough to switch on the chamber. So they set off from there, to begin the journey from hell. And after completing the coaster, me and Matt's work here was done. So we browsed some quests before taking back off to Sylva, where I used the helium to synthesize a nanocarbon alloy, ticking off a quest. So we spent the rest of the day browsing our next target. Hills, mountains, tough terrain, plants, and more hills, more mountains, and a fuck ton of shit terrain that stops fucking everything in its fucking tracks. Can you tell it's Kieran writing this? Because their journey took them through the depths of hell, where they resorted to simply digging through a whole mountain, but even that posed its fair share of challenges. And after a whole day and a half of traveling, the chamber came into sight, just in time for Kieran to die and lose all the progress. So the new plan was Jacob would drag both tractors to the chamber, switch it on, and then Kieran would just teleport through. And for me and Matt, it was much less eventful. We kind of just upgraded our base, worked on Matt's soil centrifuge setup before Matt couldn't wait anymore. His love for the hoverboard had grown too big. So we took off to Desolo to complete the questline, which would reunite him with it soon enough, touching down as day 170 drew to a close. Day 171 consisted of Jacob yanking his own and Kieran's tractors towards the next gateway chamber. But he got it switched on, allowing Kieran to return, and the pair spent the rest of the day searching for Kieran's body.
Oh, Kieran, you've scaled it with ease and left me in the dust.
But that was a search that would end up turning up nothing, sadly.
I need to find my old backpack. I don't know where the fuck that cunt is.
Meanwhile, on Desolo, the hunt for the hoverboard recipe began with us blowing up this data recorder,
Kablamo!
where we now had to track down Matt.
Find Matt on Desolo. Found him.
But first, we discovered an Apollo rocket, which was a cool find.
Oh shit, it's like the moon landing thing.
Yeah, it actually is. It's the Apollo lunar module.
Wait, that's sick. We can take a photo.
What a tourist.
Standard.
No, as in it, let me take a photo on it, you twat.
Do you want Matt to stand next to it and smile or something?
And after traversing the terrain of Desolo, we found Matt. A strange moment for the actual Matt,
Found me.
It's good to see you found yourself on Desolo.
but the machine asked us to provide it with some materials. So we began plotting out how we could accomplish this. And after a small chat, we opted for the usual route, hopping in a rocket and heading back to Sylva to gather the stuff there. So we touched down and spent the remainder of our day crafting and gathering what we'd need to give to the fake Matt. And back in the tough terrain of Atrox, the search was abandoned,
We could just give it up. I think all I had was a jetpack and carbon and hydrazine.
and they headed towards the next chamber. And after some small complications,
It's like a Top Gear race, mate. I'll go left, you start bridging.
I'm just over here, mate.
Oh, so it looks like, the traversal wins.
they got it switched on and took off for the next one. Finally, some momentum was building. They managed to touch down at the next one after scaling up a stupidly steep mountain,
Cranking 90s up this thing right now.
Oh, I'm snake charming up the wall.
getting it switched on with no complication. Although carbon was running low due to the 5 they lost on Kieran's old body. But they got it on and ignored the issue,
That is so good.
pressing on and arriving at the next one towards the end of day 173. Myself and Matt also touched down back on Desolo, where we raced straight back to Matt and inputted all the materials, completing the quest and activating Matt,
Fucking hell, Matt's a greedy little cunt, isn't he?
What
Again,
did
just
you call me?
which didn't end well for him, sadly.
It's gonna blow up that!
Like I said, there's only one real map. So we headed back to the landing pad and unlocked the hoverboard. This time, we'd actually have enough power to use it properly. So we headed home as we both had to focus on some achievements, as we were getting dangerously close to day 200 at this point, with a lot of achievements left to get. And after switching on the next gateway chamber, the pair took off towards the final one, where Jacob was the first to encounter that this chamber was nothing like any of the many we had faced up until this point.
Bro, how am I meant to get around this?
And just when things looked bleak, he also died,
I died.
leaving it all on Kieran.
What the fuck? How the fuck are you meant to traverse this place?
So Kieran raided his body and tried to traverse the terrain, which quite frankly was impossible. So he'd have to change his plans. And back at Sylva, it was simple. I was hunting for the lab rat achievement for synthesizing all items in the chemistry lab. And Matt was hunting for the gas giant for collecting every gas from the atmospheric condenser. So we got to work all day. With no hope, Kieran shifted to plan B, building a huge fucking bridge across to the chamber. So he collected soil and began his trip through the mountain biome, also bridging towards Jacob's falling tractor as a side quest along the way. Matt landed back on Atrox today, where through his efforts he had condensed the final gas and achieved the achievement for the team. And with Jacob taskless currently, he rode the roller coaster down, inserting the hydrogen and activating the core of Atrox, continuing an already incredibly productive day for our goal of 100%. So they grabbed the shuttle and returned back to Sylva, where I was still synthesizing anything we could afford, inching closer and closer. And after synthesizing my last item, I got the day started off well, grabbing the lab rat achievement, meaning it was on to the next goal. The next big goal being the moon and the last unexplored area, Novus. So me and Jacob began preparing everything we'd need to switch on the core there, where I finally plugged in that exo request platform Kieran made back on like day 5. I swear we play every game wrong. Speaking of Kieran, he hooked up the third generator from Jacob's tractor and began plowing straight for the chamber, where the beam finally revealed itself. And after getting there, he learned that this chamber was fully submerged underground.
This is very, very confusing. I've reached the beam. And there's no chamber.
Not ideal. And on top of a very productive day, Matt unlocked the extra large shredder that began working on the resources to print it out. And after printing it out, he hooked it up.
Damn, look at the size of this thing.
And used his hoverboard to his advantage, grabbing scrap from the wild and picking the torch back up from Kieran, who started the process a few days prior. Kieran's day, speaking of, his day consisted of a lot of confusion.
So, welcome back to Astroneer, where we're about to catch the large shuttle to the planet's gases using the atmospheric
doing
condense.
He's watching a little tutorial. Okay, is that you?
Eventually opting to throw himself and his trailer into the chasm, which somehow led to him finding the chamber.
Yes, please. Is this it?
So he got to work digging it out. And after spending yesterday continuing to prepare, me and Jacob touched down on Novus,
Jacob, this planet looks cooked, bro.
where we were greeted by some starter supplies,
Oh, look at that.
Oh, look, there's a...
I can go in
Oh,
there.
what the fuck?
which was a boost to us as we got to work setting up our base.
Oh.
And after putting everything there ready to construct another roller coaster, we took off on the tractor to switch the 2 gateway chambers on,
You wanna do this shit?
arriving at the first one in the evening. And on the other side of the solar system, the greatest fumble in the galaxy occurred. And after all that traversing and digging, remember the carbon issue they ignored? Well, it came home to roost for Kieran, who ran out of power, so he was stranded, where his hopes rested on one man, Matt, who prepared to rescue him, but not before completing his scrapping mission. And after another day of scrapping, Matt placed the 50th piece of scrap into his scrapping setup, unlocking the achievement for all of us. So he loaded up on power and carbon just in case, landing on Atrox, where he took off on his hoverboard to rescue Kieran, discovering just how bad the terrain really was.
Okay, this terrain is insane. How did you drive from this?
And over on Novus, we got the first chamber switched on today, where we passed through a storm en route to the second chamber.
Oh, wow.
Driving the tractor with trailers is fucking arse.
As if they put a storm there and we have to go through it.
Which, once again, we arrived at, as day 179 drew to a close. So, on day 180, we switched both chambers on, returning to the landing pad where we split up, keeping our form of forgetting items. I returned to Sylva to grab the silicon we needed to activate the core, where Jacob remained behind to construct the final roller coaster we needed to build. So, we both got to work on that. And after what felt like an age, Matt managed to navigate the tricky tunnels of the mountains, finding Kieran,
Oh, you found me.
Hello.
Oh, thank God.
where the pair of them combined to switch on the final gateway chamber in the game,
Yes.
unlocking an achievement along the way for their troubles. So they teleported back to the core, took the roller coaster up,
Hopefully we never come back to this planet.
and jetted back off to Sylva, where Kieran could finally join the rest of us with a hoverboard. Thank God that stupid planet is out of the way now. I returned to Novus today with more supplies, so me and Jacob got to work on constructing the roller coaster further down, where we cracked through to the core in the evening.
Yeet. Oh, baby.
Do you have a soil canister perchance?
I may have already jumped.
Meanwhile, back at Sylva, Kieran worked on reconstructing his jetpack and fueling it, whilst Matt began to produce steel in order to craft probe scanners for a future quest. And early on day 182, Jacob and I inputted the silicon into the core, switching on the gateway engine of Novus, leaving just our home engine as the last one. So we began to work on collecting the remaining gas reservoirs, gastropods. So we collected the shells as usual and began to work on the terrarium today. And for Matt and Kieran, after crafting a few probe scanners, they set off in search of the first hidden probe on Sylva. And after getting used to the way the scanner worked, they discovered the first one, slotting the probe scanner in and finding the Kepler Space Telescope, the first of 7 hidden probes to find. So they set off home to work on crafting more scanners. Due to Matt needing more argon to craft the probe scanners and Kieran already having one in his inventory, they decided to kill 2 birds, so headed to Glacio to grab the second mysterious probe. So Kieran took off and managed to find the Pioneer 1 spacecraft before setting off back to Matt, who had crafted what he needed. And after a quick stop at Sylva, the terrarium was complete, so after naming us the Snail Men,
Because we're going to be the Snail Men now, Colin. We're on the snail's tray. Don't put that in.
Oh, if it's my pies, go in here.
Jacob befriended and collected the gastropod, so it was on to the next. So we quickly jetted back to Sylva, inputting the new gastropod into the lab.
There he is.
So after doing that and powering the lab some more, we unlocked the Atrox and Glacio gastropod. So we opted to get the worst out of the way, landing on Atrox and repeating the same process, hunting down any shells we could find. And after returning to Earth, Kieran and Matt began the master plan, where they would power 2 rockets and split up, with Kieran taking 3 planets, leaving Matt with 2. So their day was spent fueling rockets, crafting alloys for portable oxygenators, and crafting the probe scanners they needed for the voyage. And after some last minute preparations, Kieran took off to Calidor first, traversing the harsh terrain and finding his probe slightly buried, but inputted the scanner, finding the New Horizons probe, so he took back off. Meanwhile, Matt landed on Atrox, so finding his probe was going to take a little longer. And for the self-proclaimed Snail Men, we found all the shells and began filling the terrarium. And once that was done, I performed my best dance and it was all but ours. So we landed on Glacio to start the next one. And after some searching, we found the shells underground, contained in these ice shells. So we blew them up, so all that was left was to set up the terrarium. So we did that with ease, and after some dancing, we befriended the final gastropod. Matt also found the next probe today, the Sputnik satellite. So he quickly journeyed to Novus, finding and switching on the Mariana X probe. And with Kieran finding the Voyager 2 probe on Vesania, they both set off to meet on Desolo, the final probe that would need switching on, where they found it, inputting the final probe scanner and completing the quest. However, the Wanderer didn't want to show his face today for some reason.
Where is the little fucker?
They then proceeded to spend all of day 187 waiting, but nothing came. So they headed back to the shuttles to come home and replan. Speaking of home, me and Jacob returned there, inputting the final gastropods into the lab, thinking that was it. But this was just the start.
So, slot all gastropods into Sonic Array. What is Sonic Array?
So, after a day of thinking, we found it on the roof where they were all united.
But they're performing a little choir for us.
Dude, that's pretty cool. So what happens to them?
They're so cute.
They die.
Oh.
Surely it's done now.
Use Fault Finder to spawn either unit into simulation instance. What is going on?
Nope. So we read the data log for lore reasons, pushing a button to unlock a lab suit. Then an SOS appeared in our mission log, so we tracked it, beginning our next quest line. It's at this point the other boys touched down, and with Kieran joining us now,
It's all started with some snails, bruv.
The snail team, it seems so simple.
we began to place the fault finder, seeing a cat. So we chased it for a bit before it spawned and asked us to use the curious items we played with all the way back on like day 20. So we popped it.
Am I popping one, yeah?
Yeah,
Right.
fuck it, pop one.
Oh my god.
Oh shit, oh shit.
It makes sense.
Right, now what?
What did it do?
Travel to the sun?
And now we're tasked with traveling to the sun. So after some crafting, we all hopped into the large shuttle and took off to the sun.
What the fuck is this cat doing, bro?
This cat's fucking
What the
evil.
hell?
This cat's evil, bro.
Where the cat and a person appeared, giving us a new quest line to complete. So we took it and returned home. Not ideal when we had 12 days until day 200. We landed back on Novus, harvesting and collecting fractal rose seeds. So with them, it was over to Vesania, where we began to plant them in the mountains and valleys, where the cat showed back up with the fault finder. So we chased it again until another rift opened. So Jacob collected these colourful orbs and began returning them to the rift, which took up the rest of our day. I won't won't lie. And back where things made sense, Matt began going to the planets Kieran previously visited. The theory that the host had to activate each probe to spawn the Wanderer, so he got to work on that. So we activated the Fault Finder today, which triggered a rift to form and a laser beam to spawn. The memory of peril, to be specific. And if you're lost as well, so are we. But we took it back to the sunroom, placing it on the platform, where we saw that there were 2 more to do to break the force field holding the person captive. So after reading a shit ton of text, we headed to Novus, where we harvested more fractal roses, heading to Atrox to plant them, and after setting up the Fault Finder, it was time to hunt more orbs again, just repeating the process from yesterday. Matt kept on planet hopping for more probes, leaving Kieran, who blew himself up whilst trying to complete the Vesania quest involving the fake Matt from earlier, so he worked on travelling back. And after over half a day of searching, he found his backpack. Sadly no jetpack, as that was lost in the explosion. So he found Matt towards the end of the day, calling in the real Matt for assistance, but first was focused on his own goal, activating the probe on Desolo, and then travelling to Glacio, where after scanning it, the Wanderer appeared, so Matt greeted him.
I see him. I see the Wanderer.
And he took his photo before vanishing.
He just waved at me then left.
He
He took a picture of me.
So he came home to prepare to help Kieran out. And after some orb chasing, we did the laser thing again, returning to the memory of discovery to the sunroom, leaving 1 more to go.
He's about to hit it with the fucking Thanos snap, bro.
So we read some camera, contemplated our existence for a bit.
3, 6. Okay, why has it got to be an extra 3? Why are you pissing me off?
Another 3, yeah?
And then headed to Calidor to do it all over again. I fucking hate this quest. So we collected and planted seeds to end day 191. So the stupid cat then appeared again.
Oh, fuck off, you stupid little cat.
Alright, bitch, give us the Fault Finder.
So we did the same thing.
What?
Is it taking a piss?
Chased orbs, except this time we were going deep underground.
What the fuck is going on? Do we excavate this bitch?
I don't know.
What is it asking us to do?
Now, surely it's got to be down, right? But I need to be careful. I might fucking end up dying.
So our frustration accumulated in me dying.
Oh my god, I died.
Which wasn't a great day for the 2 of us, I'll admit. Our anger wasn't helping us stay calm either.
I can't see anything. What is going on?
Fortunately, something good did happen today when Matt came to Kieran's aid, giving him a new jetpack.
Ah, thank you, you're a queen.
Alongside slotting an exochip into Matt, and once he gave us a shopping list of items to find, they headed back to Sylva, working on grabbing some gases and compounds to take back to him. And this took up all of day 193, and you've seen enough of us gathering shit at this point, so you can join me and Jacob continuing to struggle with this stupid quest. So after more digging, me getting my items back, and orb hunting, we activated the Fault Finder once again. So we took it back to the sunroom, inputting it in, and finally we reintegrated the memory by accessing the log, reading some tooltip, dancing for some reason, and finally planting a seed, which then led to a bunch more reading before finally we sent the signal, triggering a cutscene.
He's about to fuck shit up.
That's a Thanos
GG for your efforts.
Destroys universe.
Bro got trapped in time and his
Oh my god,
cat
the
let him
Wanderer
out.
likes furries.
He's fading away.
Oh my god, he's
He's
Infinity Warring.
He's I snapped my finger. I suppose the cat.
He Thanos snapped him and the cat.
He said thanks, G.
And after all that effort, they just faded away.
Was that where was that it?
Right, now what?
If you read the logs, that's probably bare emotional.
Yeah, if you actually read the lore from the beginning of the game, it probably makes sense.
I thought it was fucking shit, so.
Burger King crown.
My crown.
Say it, Golden, say it.
Don't.
So we came back to Earth as ourselves, still had lots to do, and no, I'm not going to mention how empty we both felt after all that effort, so let's just move on. With our quest log getting nearer and nearer to 100% completion, we headed to find the structures on Glacio, where it would be silly of me to lie about what we did. We ran around all day, nothing more to report, but back on Sylva, the pair kept loading the items they needed onto the medium silo attached to their shuttle, continuing to get nearer and nearer to printing everything they'd need. And after one final inventory check, they touched down on Vesania, proceeding to feed the map tons of shit from hydrogen to silicon, even exochips, where after over half a day of inputting stuff, they were rewarded with another vehicle, so they had to give it a try.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Matt, we're flying.
But enough of the fun veto action. Back on the frosty surface of Glacio, I dug deep underground after some work located locate in the right spot, where I found the extra large storage silo, completing the quest, which seemed like a completely pointless one, which didn't help my frustration after the last 15 days of questing. What am I even doing here? So we prepared to head home for the final 5 days. And with 5 days left, we had plenty still to accomplish. So let's tick another quest off. So after me and Jacob played with the new Vitor,
This thing looks shit.
Yeah, fuck that. I don't even want that shit. Whoa!
we all clambered into the large shuttle, taking off to the unidentified satellite in the sky, landing and finding this, a central hub where we can teleport to each of the planets where we needed to re-input an item into each core, taking the item back to the satellite and inserting the core of each planet onto the corresponding platforms. So with that in mind, we decided to tick off some smaller goals first, as that felt like the conclusion to the game. So we touched down on Novus, all dancing together, grabbing the Galactic Boogaloo achievement.
Hey, let's go. Let's go.
Immediately leaving for Sylva,
Should we fuck off now?
where we were heading to the core after all this time.
Time for the quickest journey of your life, son.
Did we bring the thing that we need to activate with?
So we entered the improvised roller coaster, needing to spot some quartz down there as we were fresh out. So we set off where it looked bleak until Matt spotted a pixel of one in the distance.
Oh, was that some there? Go forward.
Fuck off.
And then to the left. Behind this wall. Forward a bit.
That is mythical.
Oh
Wow.
my god. Yeah.
So we inputted the quartz into the core 2 times for the satellite as well, inputting one of the items and switching Sylva's gateway engine on, grabbing the achievement for that alongside the achievement and quest for completing all engines in the game.
I hit one. I'll hit one. Oh. Yay.
Not a bad day so far, but we weren't done. So we unloaded the fireworks we'd been collecting since the beginning and set about 15 off at once, grabbing the achievement and enjoying a light show before the grand finale, which was coming faster and faster. And I won't waste your time much today either. We've taken enough of that already. We simply worked on gathering all the materials on screen. The list was every item we'd crafted previously to switch the engines on. Well, me and Matt mainly worked on it, as Kieran and Jacob were honouring the gastropods in a sacrifice.
Goodbye, snails. Do you get it? That sounded off way too late.
And with some more crafting and preparing, Kieran grabbed the first plant we ever found from the top of our base.
We might as well slot him in, see what he says after all this time.
No. He's coming with
Yeah, he
us.
fucking is. Put him on the back.
And we loaded it and ourselves into the large shuttle, taking one last look at the place we called home for 200 days. And with everything ready, we set the thrusters off for one last time, heading to the satellite, landing and beginning the painstaking process of guessing which planet was which in the teleporter. We placed the plant front and center,
Where does this one go?
Next up is Solo.
where Jacob slotted in Sylva's core. I slotted in Calidor's core, Kieran slotted into Solo, and Matt slotted in Vesania's core to end day 199 and take us into day 200. And I started the final day by completing and slotting in Novus's core, leaving Kieran and Jacob to continuously go to the wrong cores before finally Jacob slotted in Atrox. Of course, the worst planet gave us one last bit of grief, where he placed a plant in the middle.
That fucking plant that we put on the start is still here.
They fucking better be, mate. That's the last piece.
It's the last piece of the puzzle.
Leaving it primed and ready for Kieran to return to the core of Glacier, our second home throughout this 200-day journey. So he slotted the core in, where we readjusted the plant atop the galactic stone.
Oh my god.
And before we pressed it,
Oh yes. Oh yes.
we fought back to the first roller coaster, the many voyages and many accidents along the way, where all that was left to do was simply activate the portal. So after some celebratory dancing, we switched it on and stepped through into the unknown for the final time, grabbing the final 2 achievements and completing 100% of Astroneer.
The plant. It came with us.